At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai iced coffee flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
This episode is brought to you by Hyundai. Think you know what an electric vehicle should be? Think again. From the charge time and range in the Ioniq 5 and 6 to the 601 horsepower Ioniq 5N, Hyundai is redefining what EVs should be. Learn more about Hyundai EVs at HyundaiUSA.com. EPA estimated 303-mile driving range for 2024 Ioniq 5 SE SEL limited rear-wheel drive and 361-mile driving range for 2024 Ioniq 6 SE long-range rear-wheel drive with fully charged battery. Actual range may vary.
To control yourself!
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're talking, get ready to give me more of that bite. We're talking, let me know if that's juicy enough for you. And we're talking, All About Eve meets Carrie meets Showgirls. And I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're talking, did you suck his cock?
Oh my God.
Is there any other line I was going to say for this?
I mean, you said it on the outro last week, but also, it's a line that merits saying twice.
It's real. I was so shocked the first time I saw this, and I was like, Winona Ryder, oh my God.
Dare.
How
oh my
very
goodness.
dare. Yes, everyone, we are discussing Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan, or Just Let Her Masturbate, the movie.
Oh my God, this poor infantilized, sexually repressed girl.
I honestly, every time I watch this movie, it's interesting. I was reading a lot of interviews with Darren Aronofsky to prepare for this, and he commented how a lot of people talk about this movie and they say, "Oh, it's a very fun movie." And I watched this, and I guess I kind of get it because it's maybe a bit more. It's not as I was gonna say it's not as dour as some of his other films. It's
enjoyable. I don't know if I can say this movie is fun,
but every time I watch this, I just feel so much worse for Natalie Portman's character Nina,
Yeah.
while simultaneously being so incredibly frustrated with her. But yeah, I don't walk out of this movie feeling happy.
No, I do have a very funny story of when I saw this movie because, folks, this is a movie that is celebrating its 15th anniversary this year, albeit not until December. It's also kicking off our month of doppelganger titles. But yeah, Trace, I saw this in the theaters back in 2010, and I was enjoying it. I thought it was dark. I thought it was grim. I was really processing all the mirror doppelganger imagery. Literally not a second passed before the end, final shot, fade to white, director title card comes up. This old biddy and her husband in front of me, I just hear her say, "Well, that was garbage."
Probably because
not even a beat. It was just wild. I was like, ma'am, what did you think you were going to get?
Well, it's probably because this is a genre film,
It is.
And there's definitely horror elements, especially in those last 20 minutes. But I also think this was in the Oscar race. This was in a lot of Oscar conversations. So I always find it amusing when a film that is a genre film, I mean, look at it this year with The Substance, and you have all these people that, they watch all their Oscar movies every year, but they're not used to genre films making their way into their Oscar nominations. And so they go see a film like Black Swan, like The Substance, and they're like, oh, That was garbage.
I wasn't ready for that. I thought this was a serious film. Wow.
Yeah. I also saw this in theaters. This is one of those things where I was reliving a lot because I was in college when this came out, and I was so excited for this movie because it was Aronofsky doing genre. It was Natalie Portman, Mila Kunis, who really hadn't broken out into films too much at this point.
Yeah, she was just that 70s girl, right?
Pretty much. I mean, she might have done that, because Natalie Portman did No Strings Attached with Ashton Kutcher, but then Mila Kunis did...
Oh, God, don't ask me.
Oh, my God, Friends with Benefits with Justin Timberlake.
There we go.
And it was like the same year, but it might have been the year after this. But anyway, Winona Ryder was coming back because, again, remember, by this point, she was still kind of on the outs of Hollywood after her shoplifting scandal, which was 10 years before this, by the way.
Really? It was that long? That's wild.
It was the early 2000s for sure, because I think the first time I saw her come back in something was one of David Wayne's comedies from like 2007.
Oh, I thought it was that Adam Sandler movie.
Mr. Deeds. No, that was right before the shopping scandal, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like we've talked about this before.
I know. It's a story that I feel very passionate about because Winona Ryder did not deserve all that happened to her for that. And she was clearly going through a troubled time. But But anyway, but I really liked this movie when I first saw it, but I remember thinking to myself, I really just wanted the body horror stuff to be real, not an all in her head type thing. And obviously, now that I know what this movie is, it works much better for me now. But I remember being disappointed on a first watch that she wasn't actually becoming a Swan thing.
Okay. A very different kind of movie. But yeah, in a way, it's kind of funny, right? Because this movie foreshadows a lot of the conversations we have about, is it horror or is she losing her fucking mind?
Sure.
Which is something that really kicks off, I want to say, around like 2017, 2018.
Right. And granted, I think it works here because I think it's very clear from the beginning that Nina is not an okay person.
She's not well. No.
Okay, well, Joe, I mean, do you want to talk about how this got made? Because I confess, I thought this was like, Aronofsky pitched it, we got some money, and we made it. There we go.
Okay, and I'm hearing from your voice that it's maybe a little more complicated.
Correct. I'm pulling almost all of this information from an interview with Aronofsky for IndieWire from 2010 called Aronofsky Talks the Nightmare of Getting Black Swan Made, which...
Oh my God. Is that a hyperbolic title?
I think it's a little hyperbolic, but it's also because he did not get the money he wanted to make this movie.
Oh, okay. Tell me more.
Okay, so Black Swan was written by 3 screenwriters. We have Mark Heyman, Andres Hines, and John McLaughlin. But the origin does kind of go all the way back to Aronofsky, because when he was editing Requiem for a Dream, which this probably would have been late 1999, early 2000.
Right.
He had the idea of the ballet world and was thinking about doing something with Dostoevsky's 1846 piece, The Double, in which a man encounters another man who looks exactly like him, leading to them becoming friends and then slowly enemies before he goes insane.
Okay. Sounds like a great story.
Sounds like the plot of this movie a little bit.
Just a touch.
Why the ballet world? It's because he saw Swan Lake, even though I guess this was his first time going to the ballet, because he said he'd never been to the ballet before.
Okay. He's a Tom or an Andrew, I guess.
Yeah, but he suddenly had a eureka moment where he realized, oh, Swan Lake is the double in the ballet world.
Yeah.
So... coincidentally enough, it was around this time he received a script for a film called The Understudy, which was written by Andres Hines, one of these 3 screenwriters that have the final credit in the film.
Okay.
The script, as Aronofsky describes it, was basically, Joe, all about Eve.
Yes.
With a double and set in the off-Broadway world, not the ballet world.
Oh, okay. Could see it.
There was going to be a Polanski-ish repulsion thing with a double going on, and so Aronofsky was like, oh my God, this is perfect. But there was a bidding war, and then Phoenix Pictures, whom we talked about in our episode on Urban Legends Final Cut way back when.
Oh God, okay.
I know, but they're responsible for Urban Legends' success. The first one's success, at least.
Sure.
But they bought it in a bidding war, so Aronofsky couldn't make it because while he was brought into the conversation, he wanted Final Cut approval and they wouldn't give it to him.
Yeah, that remains a bit of a hard sell for a lot of folks, which is frustrating because I don't know. I don't want to be elitist, but it does feel like certain directors have proven themselves in their creative vision, and we should be a little bit more open-minded to it. But I imagine if you're a studio, you're looking at it and saying, well, what if they turn in really artsy shit, and we need to make a genre, need to make it Oscar-friendly, and so on. So the battle.
It's one of those things where I totally get the arguments from both sides. Obviously, director wants his baby. Obviously, studio wants to make money on the thing that they spent millions of dollars on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's where we're getting into that murky conversation of like, okay, well, art versus capitalism.
Yeah.
Basically.
Which in reality is every single fucking movie.
Well, and bear in mind, though, that at this point in time, this only would have been Aronofsky's second film after his debut. So we have Pi in the 90s and then Requiem for a Dream, and then it would have been this. And so he doesn't have the clout at that point that he has now.
Really? He didn't make a movie in between Requiem and this?
It's because he's had a lot of things that were in development and then not.
Oh.
Yeah, so at the time, So Pi was 98, Requiem for a Dream was 2000. And he would have done Black Swan, but then he doesn't. So he goes off and he basically takes a gap for 6 years and does The Fountain in 2006.
Right. Okay. Which was another troubled production.
Well, but here's the other thing, though. So he may not have directed another film between Requiem for a Dream and The Fountain, but he did write another film. And this is really funny because I feel like either we talked about this recently or I talked about it offline with you, but it's the 2002 movie Below, which is like a submarine horror film. Huge bomb, made like less than $1 million on a $40 million budget. But it's from the director of Pitch Black, who we talked about in our Pitch Black commentary on Patreon last month. But Darren Aronofsky is one of 3 screenwriters on this film.
Wild. Okay.
And it's a Weinstein fuck-up movie, so...
Oh, of course it fucking is.
Anyway, so yeah, everyone go check out Below, because apparently it's pretty solid, but...
Yeah, I've heard good things.
So anyway, Phoenix kept this script for the understudy and developed it for a few years, keeping it in the Broadway world. So Aronofsky said, well, fine, I'm going to do my version of the double in the ballet world. But he realized, and this is interesting, he says he couldn't make it work without a lot of the elements from that screenplay for the understudy. And I was like, so...
he got stuck on certain ideas and probably was like, fuck, I will get sued. Yeah, like these are copywritten in this other person's script, so I need that script back.
Well, that's the thing where I'm just like, well, why don't you just change it more then? But I guess he didn't want to, so.
Yeah, if you feel like it's really working, it must be hard to break out of that mindset.
Mm-hmm. Now, luckily, Phoenix wasn't having any luck either. For some reason, they couldn't make this work in the off-Broadway world, which I was like, oh, that's a bummer, because I would love to see this movie in the Broadway world. But
I want to see derivations of this concept in every professional category. Like, this lends itself so brilliantly to any kind of artistic endeavor, but like you could redo this in virtually any environment.
Oh, absolutely. And so basically, after Aronofsky made The Fountain in 2006, which again, I totally forgot he was married to Rachel Weisz. That's why she was in that movie.
Right.
But he went back to the producer who landed the understudy for Phoenix and was like, hey, what's going on with the understudy? Because
give me that fucking script.
Yeah, I like to take a crack at it. So then they bring in screenwriter John McLaughlin. So this is screenwriter number 2, who took Aronofsky's idea of Swan Lake and put the story into the ballet world and changed the title to Black Swan.
Right.
Now, at this point, they had the backing of Universal Pictures because Aronofsky had an overhead deal there. But yet again, the script never really quite worked or clicked in the way Aronofsky wanted it to, so the project died yet again.
Okay.
Making the way for Aronofsky to go do The Wrestler, which pretty much put him in Oscar conversations. Like, I think with The Wrestler, that's when it was he's not quote-unquote just the art house guy, and he also can make movies for the Academy.
Right. And it's funny because he makes these 2 movies back to back, and a lot of people look at them as complementary. Like they're 2 different versions of people either trying to be perfect or trying to succeed against all costs or all odds in their chosen profession.
Yes, exactly. And so, he makes his mainstream breakout with The Wrestler in 2008, and he turns to his friend Mark Hyman, who is screenwriter number 3. And this guy was the director of development at Aronofsky's production company, Protozoa Pictures, which produced this film and The Wrestler.
Right.
But he was also a script doctor on The Wrestler. And so Aronofsky gives Hyman the script for the understudy and says, hey, can you make something workable? And I have no explanation for you as to how he did this other than that he did it. Like, he made this movie work. And that's how you have 3 screenwriter credits on this movie.
Okay. I mean, I do love that the script doctor gets a credit as well, because it's a bit of a mystery. Yeah, we don't know entirely how it works or what elements they end up adding. I feel like it's the thing that never really gets talked about.
Right.
But I feel like so many movies have somebody who just looks it over and says, okay, how about this? Finesse this part, punch this up, and then bam, workable script.
I'm totally guilty of this too, but I think having more than 3 screenwriters on a film,
it looks like trouble.
Well, it's a really, especially if you're reviewing it and you don't like the film, it's a really easy thing to say, oh, well, I mean, look how many screenwriters it has. Like, how many hands did this pass through?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact of the matter is, though, that happens with a lot of movies, but I just think it's interesting that in good reviews from movies that have 5 or 6 screenwriters, that's not mentioned.
Never say it. No.
Yeah.
But if it's a Marvel movie that sucks, every screenwriter will get a shout out as, why are there so many of you?
Exactly. And I always think, there's probably that one screenwriter who's like, I haven't worked on this for 10 years. Like, why the fuck are you throwing me under the bus?
Exactly, right?
Okay, so now we look at casting. Aronofsky had been a fan of Natalie Portman's ever since Leon the Professional, so he'd always wanted to work with her.
Another movie with a young girl and an older French man.
And, he grabs international star Vincent Cassel. He gets domestic star Mila Kunis to fill out his supporting cast. And then we also have, like the old guard, do I want to say that? With Barbara Hershey and Winona Ryder.
How about genre staples or iconic actresses?
I mean, I'm telling you, Joe, because have you seen The Entity? I know I've talked about this before, but...
I have not seen it, just in part because I know it's a hard watch.
It is, in my opinion, one of the most upsetting films I have ever seen, but I also loved it. Like, it is close to a 5-star film for me. It was so affecting, but anyway.
I mean, Barbara Hershey, forever favorite. Anytime she shows up, I think, oh, shit is about to go down, and I'm keeping my eye on her.
Mm-hmm. So with Natalie Portman, Aronofsky met with her over coffee at, I love this, the Howard Johnson.
Oh, the Hojo.
The airport Hojo. But she signed on basically right then and there. And regarding the ballet sequences, Portman didn't do everything, but she did do a lot of it. So
yeah, this isn't quite Nev Campbell levels, but it's not far off.
No, and I think it's because Natalie Portman trained like as a child. I don't know how long it lasted, but so like for example, it's like the opening shot in the prologue when she walks off into the light and she's flapping her wings and she's on point. Like that is 100% untouched, no digital Natalie Portman. But
okay.
Then they have these wide shots where they did use a replacement, but I love this reasoning. Aronofsky said it's because physically the body is transformed when you start dancing at 4 and you just can't recreate that. And
right.
So that was their, I mean, again, also I'm just kind of like, well, Natalie Portman's a really good dancer, obviously, but she's not a professional ballet dancer.
Yeah, I actually talk about this a lot on my YA podcast because there's so many teen films about ingenues or child prodigies, and you see all of these actors trying their fucking darndest to either, sing or play an instrument or do something, and it often doesn't look convincing. It doesn't matter how much you got to practice unless it was for years to prepare for the role. Sometimes it's just better to sub in somebody who does this all the time. It is their profession. It's just going to look better and we're not going to notice the discrepancy.
Exactly. And I kept thinking, I was like, oh, there's another movie that I think did something similar to this. And it's I, Tonya with all the ice skating sequences.
Okay.
But anyway, so Aronofsky wanted $25 million as a budget for this movie.
Okay.
I will say the final budget is $13 million.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And again, like I listed that cast, we have international star Vincent Cassel, domestic Mila Kunis for the young kids. And so Aronofsky was like, yeah, I've got like a 4-quadrant thing. Like this is going to be easy to get financing. And it was not. So,
I mean, yeah, the actors are great, but let's be clear. This is a dark psychological drama where we kill the protagonist at the end, set in the ballet world. Sir, that is not an easy sell.
Yeah, but The Wrestler was a wrestling movie with a washed-up actor, Mickey Rourke, where he also dies at the end, set in the wrestling world. So
yeah. Okay, fair point.
So here's the thing, though. The Wild Bunch, who financed The Wrestler, they said, well, no, we can't give you $25 million, but we'll give you $10 million. And
oh, thanks.
Aronofsky said, no.
I asked for 25.
Yes. Fox Searchlight also said no, not liking that $25 million price tag. So Aronofsky and company basically raised the money independently from a few different people, but it fell apart 2 weeks out when they were $1 million in. Because, and again, I couldn't figure out why, but this is a direct quote. Aronofsky says the money didn't really exist. And so I'm like, okay, like...
Sounds shady. Are we dealing with the Hells Angels?
So his producer was scrambling while Aronofsky went over to Claudia Lewis at Fox Searchlight. So again, they'd already said, no, we're not paying $25 million. But Claudia Lewis, she had been giving them script notes, and Aronofsky basically pleaded with her, and she put herself on the line to make a deal happen. And so taking into account the development at Phoenix and the time spent over at Universal, the total cost of the film wound up being just shy of $15 million. But $13 million of it is what you see on the screen. So I'm assuming the other $2 million is like things paid off, like back expenses to Universal and Phoenix or something.
Yeah, it's development costs.
Yeah. So it's funny because he says, oh no, like there is another version of this movie that is my $25 million version that I wanted to make, but that's not what I have here.
That is fascinating because this movie doesn't look cheap. It doesn't feel cheap to me. So I don't know what a $25 million version of this would look like because I don't feel like this movie is lacking for it.
I feel the exact same way, which is why I would love to like pick his brain about that a little bit. But...
Yeah, like what were you looking to do that you couldn't afford to do because you didn't have those $12 million?
Exactly. Well, and so Aronofsky shoots the film using 16 millimeter because instead of 35 millimeter, which is why you see so much grain on the screen. But that's because Aronofsky liked how the cameras were really light and movable, which he knew he was going to be moving a lot because of the ballet sequences.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
They're a lot cheaper than 35 millimeter, so that worked out. And Aronofsky wanted to go back to the grainy, like, cinema verite feel that The Wrestler had. So again, that's 16 millimeter.
I like it. I feel like it actually adds a sense of realism to a film that is often quite nightmarish and hallucinatory. So I like this. I could see another version of this, where maybe it's on 35 millimeter, $12 million extra dollars, and it has a lot more sheen, like kind of cold polish.
Right.
You know what? Almost like a Cronenberg film.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking that too, because in my head, I was like, oh, I think I walked into this movie, remember it being cold, and that's not what this is.
True. It's not a warm movie by any means, but it's not as chilly or antiseptic as I remembered.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot more passion felt on screen here than what you would see in a Cronenberg film. Not to say the Cronenberg isn't passionate, but the films...
Just the films themselves, the characters themselves.
Yeah. Like with Wrestling and The Wrestler, the ballet is shot in wide shots with 2 shots on the side. And Aronofsky really wanted the camera to dance, but he was nervous about shooting a psychological thriller / horror film with a handheld camera, so because he was concerned it would affect the suspense, but...
Sure.
After a while, he just said, screw it, let's just go for it.
I mean, I think that this is probably one of the most successful aspects of the film is how he shoots it, how he gets in around the dancing, and it makes you feel like you are on the stage and part of the psychosis. But
at the same, which makes it feel all the more unsettling. Like, again,
exactly.
I don't walk out of this movie feeling happy. I walk out feeling quite unsettled, and but it's one of those things where, like... I feel like it's a lot of the filmmaking style that Aronofsky employs that is making me feel uneasy because nothing in this movie is worse than most of what I've seen in your average horror film, you know?
Oh, God, no. I mean, I love all of the mirror stuff, but do I find it particularly scary or off-putting? No, because we have seen this so often.
Exactly.
But I think it's really well used here.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And to be clear, like, do I have to turn away from the screen every time she peels her finger skin off? Yes, absolutely.
Oh, my God, the body horror. Actually, you know what? Maybe that's the other reason we were thinking Cronenberg, because there is some gnarly fucking body damage in this movie.
There really is. And half the time, we don't know if it's real or not.
I mean, I almost always default to not real. But there's moments. We'll talk about them.
Yeah, we'll talk about them. But I do like, though, that Aronofsky does not clap back when people call this a horror film. And
oh, good.
But here's the thing, though. A lot of this probably comes with how he views Swan Lake. And I'm just going to read this quote directly from him. He says, the ballet Swan Lake is gothic. The story is, during the day, she's a swan, and at night, she's a half swan, half human creature. I was going, that's a werewolf movie. She's a were-swan, and I wanted the metamorphosis to be a big surprise for that big, final, don't want to spoil it finale moment. We really worked on trying to reinvent the werewolf genre with this movie.
Okay, but also, sidebar, now I want... a were-swan movie.
But, right?
I need this to happen. I need it to happen yesterday.
So Black Swan has its world premiere at the Venice Film Festival on September 1st, 2010, before getting a release, not a wide release, but a release in theaters in the United States and Canada on December 3rd, 2010. And this is only 18 theaters, but...
We call this Oscar qualifier.
100%. But here's the thing. It did really well that weekend, landing in 13th place and earning $1.4 million. That's a per theater average of $80,000.
Okay, yeah, that's nothing to scoff at.
Which I had to look this up because I was like, that has to be really high. It's like the 56th best per theater average of all time.
Okay, yeah, I feel like anything above 50,000 is pretty fucking good.
Exactly. And like the highest ones are like 100,000. But again, some of those are films that it's like they never got a wider release. Like, they were just in 4 theaters, and so everyone went to go see them that weekend.
Yeah, it's called This Is Your One Chance to see it on the big screen, and after this weekend, it's gone.
And it's usually in New York and LA.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
No offense to our LA and New York friends. It's just you folks get stuff that will never be seen in middle America or like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm jealous. I'll just say it. I'm jealous.
There's the thing. We are jealous.
So it spends the rest of December 2010 expanding into more theaters before hitting its widest release on January 21st of 2011 with 2,400 theaters.
Okay. That's probably about when I saw it.
Probably so. I mean, we had like a little rinky-dink like indie theater in Austin, but I don't remember. What I did not know, though, was how successful this movie was. So again,
She made some money.
Like, we're looking at that $13 million production budget. This grossed $107 million domestically and $222 million internationally for a worldwide gross of $329 million.
Just imagining Aronofsky going back to all the people who turned him down, being like, suck it.
It's so bizarre to me. And again, I almost empathize with producers like who have to make those calls because you never know what's going to be a hit, what's going to click. And
this could have made $5 million for all we know.
Exactly. I mean, I also do think that it being a cast primarily of women had something to do with it, but
and ballet. Never underestimate how much women get sucked into ballet, because that's something that so many young girls are told, especially in North America, like this is one of the kind of defining sports that you could go into.
Well, but now I'm thinking too, I bet ballet was a big reason why studios didn't want to do it. Because how often have you seen ballet put on film, much less in a horror film outside of something like The Red Shoes, you know?
I will say, this movie definitely made me think, oh, right, I've got that criterion. Why have I not watched it?
Exactly.
One day.
One of these days. We'll probably just have to cover it.
That would do it, yes.
But critics were mostly over the moon for Black Swan. So we're looking at 85% on Rotten Tomatoes with an average score of 8.2 out of 10. And Letterboxd users are the same. They've given it a 4.2 out of 5 or an 8.4 out of 10.
Okay.
I forgot this. I forgot this movie did get Oscar nominations and a win.
Okay. I knew it got nominations, but I couldn't remember if it actually got a statue.
Oh my God, you're going to laugh. Okay, so it received 5 nominations for Best Picture, Best Director for Aronofsky, Best Actress for Natalie Portman, Best Cinematography for Matthew Libatique, and Best Film Editing for Andrew Weissblum. Joe, guess what won?
Okay, I know it's not picture or director or lead actress, so I'm going to say editing.
Girl, it was Best Actress. Natalie Portman won the Oscar for this movie.
Oh my God, how are we so fucking dumb?
I know. I remember, because I think, oh my God, I think this was maybe the Oscars that were derailed by Anne Hathaway and James Franco hosting. I think, because I feel like that guy, I literally was like, oh my God, like Natalie Portman won an Oscar for a genre film, and I forgot about it? Like, what?
That is too funny. Yeah, because I have heard her described as an Oscar winner, and for some reason, I thought it was for like, name me a Natalie Portman movie that's not Black Swan or Star Wars. Closer.
Yeah.
She did one of the fancy smart lady biography films.
Oh, Jackie. Yeah.
She did Jackie. I thought it was for Jackie.
Yeah, she got nominated for Jackie, I think. And she was nominated for Closer as well, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
We both like Closer.
Oh, Closer's amazing. I think that's also the movie that got her taken seriously as an actress after that.
Right. Also, just confirming 2010 Oscars were hosted by Steve Martin and Alec Baldwin.
Oh, God damn it. Well, that Anne Hathaway one was in the years after that because I remember all the news about it.
Yeah, I think you're looking at more mid-2010s. I know you want to look it up.
Now I'm just curious. And when did Anne, like the autofill is when did Anne Frank die? I'm like, Jesus. Sorry, Google. I want to know when
Thanks,
Anne Hathaway
AI,
hosted
you
the
fucking
Oscars.
dumb piece of shit.
Oh, no, it was the ones after this. It was, wait, yeah, Anne Hathaway hosted the ones in February. You're looking at the 2010 Academy Awards. Those were honoring the Best in Film of 2009.
Yes, I am. Okay, so the 2011 Oscars hosted by
Anne Hathaway and James Franco. Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting.
I was like, I knew I had that memory from somewhere locked in my brain.
That was wild.
Okay, I did want to point out one thing before I pass it over to you, Joe. So I had missed all of this or forgot about it, but there were many accusations of misogyny thrown Aronofsky's way about this film.
Sure. Yeah, I can see it.
So he says, A, the film is not misogynistic, which I love that he just says that.
I mean, that's not a defense, but okay.
But he said he found it interesting that it was mostly male critics, not female critics, crying misogyny at the film.
Okay. I'm curious, do you have any specific references, like what people were saying exactly was misogynistic? Or was it, oh, well, this woman is fighting with another woman or two other women if you want to count her mom, which of course you should, because moms are women.
It seems to be the Vincent Cassel character. And that to me is more so, I'm like, okay, well, he's a misogynist. The movie's not expanding on this, and I'll just read this direct quote, but he says,
okay.
Misogyny is a very easy way to go with it, and there are certain cliches, but as Hubert Selby Jr. used to say to me, it's called a cliche because it's often true, but it's not just that. The Vincent character was a really hard obstruction for Mark Hyman, one of the writers, because it's very easy to make him one thing. But what he did and what Vincent ran with is he kind of is an artist, so even though he's this manipulative pig, it's all about the art. There's a nice balance and complexity. The whole scene with Natalie when he tells her to go touch herself, it's really not that out of line. It's very aggressive, but he's just trying to get on with it.
I mean, that's a very choice example to select when you're saying, no, it's not misogynistic. He just tells her to go and masturbate. I would have maybe chosen a different example, but yeah, I see that character as mildly despicable, but considering the whole movie is about creative types and what you do to drive yourself or others to perform to the top of their abilities, like, people don't hate me. And please don't sue me if you're from the Hitchcock family, but this is giving Alfred Hitchcock vibes.
Well, it's the thing. I think it's also very crucial that we never see the Vincent Cassel character. Like, he's not actually trying to fuck her. He's not trying to do this stuff. He's only doing it in the service of his art. And I'm not
pushing her. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's okay.
Inappropriate. It's totally inappropriate. But it's also one of those things where you say, well, I'm trying to do whatever I need to get this girl to rise. Yeah. To the Black Swan level. And
it's very pre-Me Too. You know, I'm sure we'd be having a different conversation if this was made after Me Too. But I mean, it's also like, I mean, this is not going to be a one-to-one comparison, but like, I remember I was in high school. My theater teacher was like a really intense theater teacher. And like,
method. Mm-hmm.
I may have said this story before, like years ago, but like, I remember we were doing a one-act play, which is it's like the Super Bowl for theaters in high school. But like, the leads, the male and female lead, like they didn't have any chemistry when they were kissing. And so this teacher like takes them out, like stops rehearsal, takes them to the hallway, and just makes them make out in front of her for like 10 minutes until she can feel the chemistry.
Oh no.
And so again, I'm just like, okay, like maybe not appropriate to do with your high school students.
Definitely not, no.
But the things like that like aren't really out of the ordinary when it comes to art like this. And again, not excusing it, not saying it's right, but I'm just saying like
it does happen.
It happens. Like it's not a one and done thing.
Yeah. And we obviously know that people in positions of power are apt to employ their power, to abuse their power, to get the people below them to do certain things. So especially when you put that into an artistic medium where you're trying to get people to fake something, right? Like this is a performance. So I don't condone it, but I do understand that it probably happens far more than we're comfortable admitting.
Absolutely. And I'll finish with this last other kind of defense against misogyny from Aronofsky before I throw it over to you. So he said, this is a different kind of excuse, by the way. So he says, I grew up in a family with two very strong women, my mother and my older sister. I know.
I'm sorry. I have a black friend again. Motherfucker.
I know. It's a thing where I get it, truthfully, but like it's also the thing where it's like, like that's always what everyone that is accused of misogyny says. Like,
yeah, like I'm not a racist, I'm not a misogynist, I'm not a homophobe. Okay.
But he says, and they were big influences on my life. I've spent a life loving women and studying them as much as I can, or am allowed to, which I thought was a funny qualifier.
Ew.
But I don't think this whole Mars-Venus thing is as divisive as they put it out. I think we're all people, and the magic of cinema is that you can see a movie about a 6-year-old girl in Iran and completely connect. Her experience is different from my experience and anyone in New York City's experience in incredibly complicated ways, but you can understand her. So to me, if you paint a human character with real emotions and really empathize with them, it doesn't matter if it's a 50-something aging wrestler or a 20-something ambitious dancer. They're just people.
Okay. You know what? It started bad, and he got there in the end.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I personally don't get misogyny from this movie. In the sense that I don't think the movie is misogynistic, you know?
Yeah, I mean, looking over reviews for research for our show, I didn't come across that. So I wonder if that was an initial knee-jerk kind of reaction that people were having. But it seems like people are much more willing to take the film for what it is doing. I don't know. I think, yeah, if you want to read misogyny, especially in that character, definitely. Sure. I'm probably not going to fight you on it, but I also don't think that's necessarily the most interesting conversation to be having about this film.
No, because honestly, it's similar to The Substance for me, where it's really evident in the Winona Ryder character, where it's like, well, look at what the world does to these women.
Yes, and that's the conversation I would much rather have, is like, what are we driven to?
Yeah.
And how does it ultimately end up hurting all the women in this movie?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, I guess maybe Mila Kunis is fine. We maybe, I don't know.
She seems the most well-adjusted, but she's also the person who's like, you know what, I'm going to walk away from this and just do some Molly. Maybe fuck that guy.
I was, okay, like doing Molly the night before you're on stage the next day for rehearsal. I was like, oh my God.
Like, no, maybe just don't. Even if you need to loosen up, maybe wait for the weekend.
Well, I was really surprised that was happening so soon to the opening, because I was like, you should have been doing this months ago.
Oh, God, yeah. But this movie also has a weird relationship with time. Like, tell me how long this movie takes place over.
I
can't tell.
Well, you would think, you know, you're like, okay, well, you're rehearsing for a big, like for Swan Lake to open your season. So
gotta
I'm like,
be 6 months, right?
I was thinking at least 3, but hoping for 6, yes. But there's no signifier for time here.
No, which is, I think, part of what makes this a little bit hallucinatory and unsettling, because it just constantly feels like we're doing this thing and then we're back in rehearsal and then we're getting injured and then we're back in rehearsal. And then suddenly the show is happening and you think, oh, God, no wonder it's so overwhelming. I
mean, and truthfully, I look at the rehearsal of this movie because I'm always fascinated by ballet, and
sure.
You know, I feel like every ballet movie I see, there's always the montage of them distressing their ballet slippers.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I'm always like, oh God, like I don't have the dedication to do something like this. Like I have so much respect for these people, because I could not imagine devoting my life to this project.
What's just so fucking hard on your body, too. Like, it feels like something that human bodies are not meant to do. And people have to, just like we see with the shoes, people have to shape their bodies into these artistic endeavors. But they're slightly unnatural.
Yeah. Okay, Joe, we'll pass it over to you. And a little birdie told me, that birdie meaning you, that you have a game for me.
I do indeed, yes. So our trailer game on the Teeth episode went over fairly well, so I thought I might try it again. And I will confess, I did not watch these trailers myself. I had to look it up. And folks, it's not as easy as you might think to discover what trailers are on what discs. So I got a little bit lucky with this one. But Trace, I have 3 different trailers that I would love to have you try to guess the film in question. Okay. I did okay in Teeth, but not excellent. So I'm hoping I can come back swinging here. Okay, so I'm going to give you the caveat that these films, much like Black Swan, are not straightforward genre films. So you might have to expand your horizons as you're thinking about them.
Noted. Okay,
so the first trailer. This is a film from 2010. So these are all going to be 2010 movies.
Right.
It is a British dystopian romantic drama that is based on a 2005 novel of the same name.
Oh my God, it's a long name, isn't it?
It's not short, but it's not like super, super long.
Is it called Never Let Me Go?
It is called Never Let Me Go.
So it's so funny because I remember I've seen this trailer before once, but I thought it was just like a typical romance drama. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is like a sci-fi type thing?
Yes.
Oh, so I've always been curious about it, but I've never watched it.
It's not bad. So spoiler alert, folks, this is about cloning. It is from a screenplay written by Alex Garland. It does star Keira Knightley. It's not like the greatest movie. The book is apparently quite a bit better.
Got it. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Because it's Mark Romanek directing it too. The 1 hour photo guy. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got that one.
It's worth a look if you're curious. We'll put it that way.
Okay. Also, early Andrew Garfield role.
No. Okay. So the second film, again, 2010. This is a biographical film that is based from a real life event that occurred in 2003. That's your first clue. I have 2 more.
Okay. It's a real life event. Okay. I'm going to guess, although I think this is too early. Is it Deepwater Horizon?
It is not.
Okay.
But that was a solid guess. Yeah. Okay. Second clue. The writer and director has worked extensively with Alex Garland.
That's Danny Boyle. Danny Boyle biopic from 2000. Oh, is it? Oh, wait, no. Is it? It's not Slumdog Millionaire. No, that's too late. But it would have been his follow-up to Slumdog Millionaire. But no.
Real time. Here we go.
Danny Boyle, what the fuck have you done?
Do you want the third clue?
Yeah. Give me the third clue.
Okay, so the book in question that it is based on is called Between a Rock and a Hard Place.
Oh, 127 Hours.
Correct.
There we go.
Starring sex pest James Franco.
I forgot that was Danny Boyle.
I know, right? I've actually never seen this, but I want to check it out because it sounds, I don't know. I like the movies that are claustrophobic and kind of happening inside people's minds as they're trying to process, oh my God, I could fucking die here. Like I just watched Alive last month with Jen for our true crime horror podcast. And I'm just like, these movies mess me up.
Yeah. It's worth watching just to see him cut his arm off because the effects are really good.
Oh, wow. Yes, there is that.
Not a spoiler, everyone. That's like kind of the
It's
whole
the
thing
premise.
that movie was built around, was him cutting his arm off.
Yeah, it's the only way for him to get out. I mean, I remember when the movie came out and people said, how do you make a movie out of a guy who gets stuck between 2 boulders? But also, how do you get stuck between 2 boulders?
Well, that's...
Watch the movie, I guess.
The perils of rock climbing, but yes.
Yeah. Okay, so the third and possibly hardest one. So this is a film that I had not heard of, but it could just be a me thing. So I'm going to give you the log line because I think it's less well known.
Okay.
So a working mother puts herself through law school in an effort to represent her brother who has been wrongfully convicted of murder and has exhausted his chances to appeal.
Fuck, I've heard of this movie. I've not seen it, but I've heard of it.
I think you might get it on the third one.
Okay.
Or you'll be like, I know this movie, but I cannot tell you the title of it.
Yeah, give me the second clue.
Okay. This film was directed by actor Tony Goldwyn, who is famous for his acting roles in the movie Ghost, as well as Shonda Rhimes' TV show Scandal.
I was just thinking about Scandal today because...
Still fun, messy, but fun.
Yeah, the first season is legitimately good, and then it goes downhill pretty fast after that.
Yeah.
Tony Goldwyn, too. Okay.
I know. I didn't even realize that he had directed stuff, so that was news to me.
Okay, what's my third clue?
Okay, your third clue is that this movie stars Hilary Swank.
Okay.
I guess I could give you a fourth clue.
No. Oh my God, it's a fucking generic... It's not about music, is it?
No, it is not.
Fuck. Okay, what is the potential fourth clue?
The title is actually in the logline description I gave you.
Oh, fuck.
A working mother puts herself through law school in an effort to represent her brother who has been wrongfully convicted of murder and has exhausted his chances to appeal.
Do not tell me it's called Wrongfully Convicted.
It is called Convicted.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I would be curious to know if anybody has seen this. It doesn't look like quite your average legal thriller, but it is very much one of those toggling the lines between okay, let's set it in the courtroom and let's also do kind of a social justice activism thing.
Yeah, conviction, by the way, in case people are already yelling at you. But yeah, this was a bomb. It made $11 million on a $12 million budget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh, okay. This would have come out when I was working at Blockbuster, so I'm sure I've seen this box art, but I've definitely not seen this movie.
It's incredibly generic as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
There you go. You know what? You do way better than I would because my brain just goes to mush when I have to do trivia. So good on you.
Someone put me on Pop Culture Jeopardy. Actually, we should make a Pop Culture Jeopardy team. I'm sure we'd do okay.
Yeah. When I have other people that don't have to rely on me, like if I can pipe in with an answer, I'm usually better. Like Fantastic Fest? No.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could. Yeah,
I crumble under pressure.
It depends. It depends. You know, if it's about horror movies, maybe you'll be better than you think. You never know.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. But, yeah.
So, folks, like if you've never seen this movie and you didn't gather from our previous discussion, I am going to give a content warning for self-harm in this movie, as well as there is a sequence with strobe lights. So, you know, if you have seizures or suffer from epilepsy and stuff, just be mindful of that.
Yeah, and I guess you could argue potentially sexual assault in the scene where he puts his hand up her skirt or whatever.
Yeah, there is a lack of consent among most characters in this film. Yeah. All right, so we open on Nina. That is Oscar winner Natalie Portman for this very role.
I can't believe both of us forgot that.
We're stupid, man. All right, so she is having a dream, but she is dancing in Swan Lake, but then it becomes a threatening, almost a nightmarish dream when her male partner, David, who is played by Benjamin Millipede, turns into the Black Swan.
Is he turning into the Black Swan or is he turning into this Rothbart creature?
I don't know. And this is maybe one of those things where people who have seen the ballet would be able to tell us. I feel like we see this character, like, this movie's not particularly funny, but I do laugh every time when she's in the middle of having her complete mental breakdown on stage and she comes off and the Rothbart character just goes, hey.
Yeah. I do love that. So I've actually, to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever gone to a ballet.
Okay.
I may have gone to the Nutcracker once as a child, but if I did, I don't remember. So I did actually prepare by looking at the plot of Swan Lake. Because, truthfully, the only thing I knew about Swan Lake was I used to watch this animated kids movie called The Swan Princess in the 90s when I was a kid.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. That's a very popular one.
Yes, which I loved, which is just Swan Lake adapted. But also there's like 10 sequels to that movie, which I was like, how do you make 10 sequels to fucking Swan? Whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, but yes, it says some productions of Swan Lake include a prologue that shows how Odette, the Swan Princess, first meets Rothbart, who turns Odette into a swan. So that's what we are seeing here. This is the prologue to Swan Lake.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Good of them to include that because I feel like the purists would probably appreciate it.
Well, but that's also like, because when you look at the cast list for this movie, I truthfully didn't check to see if it was in the actual like end credits. But like on IMDb, on Wikipedia, like the cast characters, like it's like Natalie Portman as Nina or the White Swan or Odette. Mila Kunis as Lily or the Black Swan or Odile. Barbara Hershey as Erica Sayers or the Queen. So we're doing a lot of parallels with the story of Swan Lake in this movie.
Right. Yeah. The actual characters are being listed. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because it would make sense if it was just the ballet players, but the fact that we're also crediting Winona Ryder as the Dying Swan.
Right.
It's not just people in the show.
Huh. That's when I think, oh, right, regular folks can go in and edit those IMDb and Wikipedia entries, can't they?
Yeah, but I do think, again, don't hold me to it, but I do think they're actually credited that way in the closing credits for the film.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but anyway, just something, I do wonder if you are very familiar with Swan Lake, if you get an extra like layer to this movie when you're watching it.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I'm sure we will probably hear from someone. All right, so this is all a dream. And then in the morning, Nina wakes up and she gets into her routine. So she's stretching, she's getting ready for the day. She's telling her mother, Erica, who is played by Barbara Hershey, all about this dream over a sumptuous and very fulfilling breakfast of one pink grapefruit.
I think there's like a poached egg next to it too, but yeah, I couldn't tell. I mean, obviously I think she's being genuine when she says this, but like the first time I saw this, I was like, she's like, "Oh, looks delicious, so pink," and
so
I was like,
pink.
"Are you really excited for this shit?" Okay, I mean, I like grapefruit too, but still.
I'm lukewarm on grapefruit. I'll drink it in cocktails, but it's not going to be something I eat for breakfast. But yeah, I mean, this to me looks like somebody who is on a diet would maybe consume this breakfast. This does not look like it has enough caloric intake for someone who is a fucking professional ballet dancer.
Which I am a little surprised, because I feel like people love to cry anorexia bulimia whenever they see an actress who is skinnier than average. And I don't remember seeing a lot of that about Natalie Portman for this movie, but I also wonder if that's also because like it's a ballet body, you know?
Well, it's tricky too because this character is suffering from bulimia. We actively see her attempting to throw up multiple times.
Oh yeah, that's true. Forget what I just said.
But yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons you cast a Natalie Portman type in this film is because she can handle the athleticism of the role, but also she does have a body that, I mean, I'm sure if you were a professional, you would look at her and say, actually, no, she's probably a little bit too regular person size in terms of like the bust or the hips or something. But for the layman, she looks like she believably could be a ballet dancer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about how Mom infantilizes her. So Erica is very concerned about a scratch that she sees on Nina's back, and she worries about her sweet girl.
Yeah, I think Barbara Hershey actually has a really difficult job in this movie, because I think this is a role that could easily become a caricature, and she never does. She's always threatening, but I don't know. She plays like the sweet and saltiness of her just so well.
There are moments where I genuinely believe that Erica is a great mother, or she is trying to be the best mother that she possibly can be. You know, in some ways, she's a helicopter parent. She's not willing to let her daughter go off and live her own life. She feels like she has to control everything. And then you get into the darker sides, right? Where it's like, oh man, you've just not let this girl grow up in any significant capacity. You were trying to control her career because you didn't get one. Like,
I think it's also like her mood can shift at like a single word, and it's
the cake is the prime example.
Yeah, the cake is the moment where I was like, I could understand a lot of what this character does before the cake moment. I'm like, okay, I get it. Like you're a show mom. Like that's
exactly.
You're the momager, for lack of a better term. And, you know, we just talked about that last year with Smile 2 and Rosemary DeWitt's character. But it's how she just gets so angry suddenly over something that I'm like, a lot of people in this movie need to be in therapy.
Oh my God. Everyone in this movie, except again, probably Lily.
Yeah, Lily's got her shit figured out.
I mean, she comes from San Francisco, so maybe she was just having a way chiller life out on the West Coast.
Well, she also said, I brought this Molly straight from San Francisco. And I was like, you flew on a plane with that?
I clocked that too, and I thought, ma'am, in 2010, no, you did not. Unless that was in your shoe or something.
Well, because like I know some people, but they'll like if they want to bring edibles, like weed edibles across on a plane, they'll get a bag, I guess like a bag full of gummies, of regular gummies, and throw in the weed gummies with them. But I'm just like, that's just
so
big
much work.
risk for me.
Like, do I want to get barred from flying and or strip searched or something? No.
Oh my God, could you imagine if you had to drive everywhere for the rest of your life? Ugh.
No, thank you. All right, so yeah, Erica does offer to accompany Nina in, but Nina says no, she's going to be okay. So she hops on the subway, but her attention is distracted when she sees a enigmatic woman in black in either I think it's another train car. So the one that she's on, it's the one next to it kind of deal. So then after Nina gets off the train, she pauses outside of the ballet so she can look at a promotional banner of Beth McIntyre. This is Winona Ryder, who is the star of the company. And when we go inside, all of the other ballerinas are gossiping about Beth. Oh my God, can you believe that she's coming back?
She's so old.
Yes, and of course, this is the world of ballet. So if you're over the age of 25, you know, we could be real and say, well, Nina is getting up there. She's practically a spinster ballet.
Yeah, exactly. So. I also, just to go back quickly to the double she sees on the train, I do love how Aronofsky, like how quickly he shoots all of these, because all of these look at the double, and I'm sure there's a bunch of different takes of this, because we have, sometimes it's Natalie Portman, sometimes it's Mila Kunis, sometimes it's just some other girl.
Random other girl with dark hair. Yep.
And it's never a long enough shot to where you can actually grasp what it is for the most part, and I think that's a really, really good way of doing it.
Yeah. The blending is very good. I think most films, they want to linger on it to ensure you understand, oh, is it? I think it is. And here it's very much, did you blink? Did you miss it? If you didn't, don't worry. You'll have 25 million other opportunities to see it, because this movie is nothing but reflective surfaces of doppelgangers. So.
Just a little bit.
Okay, so as we're gossiping, this is when Lily, Mila Kunis, does pop her head back in. She's like, oh my God, I got off on the wrong stop. And so she is the new transplant to the company, which doesn't go over particularly well with folks like Veronica, who was played by Kinesia Solo. I got it wrong again, didn't I?
No, because that was my fault. I did it wrong. When we, oh God, what are we covering Pet or something? And I was like, Ksenia Solo. It's just Senia. It's just Senia. The K is silent.
I should know this because here's the thing. I know this actress back and forth because, once again, I will plug it. She's on a great Canadian genre TV show called Lost Girl, which is about a succubus who is bisexual. Strong recommend, especially for folks who liked Buffy. She's the fun best friend on that show, and she was always the standout. She was stealing scenes all the fucking time. So whenever she shows up in a quote-unquote regular film, I'm always so excited to see her.
And see, I don't really know from anything, except everyone, I'll take this time again, like, watch 2016's Pet with her and Dominic Monaghan, but do not read anything about it.
Yeah, go into that one cold. It's fun.
So good. But yeah, I feel maybe this is an issue I have with the movie, but I always just want more of the people. Like I want more Winona Ryder in this movie. I want more Senia Solo in this movie. Apparently Salem's Janet Montgomery is one of the ballet girls in here, and I could not tell you who she is.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Like she plays Madeline or Little Swan, and I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Right. She's one of the women in the company in the background.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This is a movie that really only has about 4 main roles, and then everybody else is window dressing to convincingly portray, okay, we've got a whole group of people, we're mounting a whole show. But yeah, the narrative is very streamlined and focused.
Yeah, I would argue it's one main character in Nina, and then maybe Tomas and Lily are like, they are supporting characters. Tomas more so than Lily. Again, I always walk out here and be like, oh, I wish Mila Kunis was in that movie more, because I really like what she's doing here, you know?
Well, full agree that I think Kunis is kind of a revelation in this. I always wrote her off as just a hot sitcom girl, and then I saw this movie and thought, well, you can eat your whole fucking shoe now, because she's great in this film. But also, it's such a weird character, because you realize half the time she may not actually be there. So she's very much a figment of Nina's imagination.
Yes.
And to the point where in my notes, I wrote one scene, oh, none of this is actually happening. And then I realized I had to double back and erase that, because it did happen. But the way the film is structured, you could convincingly say, they never went out and had drinks, except for the fact that Lily actually references it the next day.
Well, and even in some of Mila Kunis' dialogue, you know, like, especially towards the end when she gets a little bit more aggressive, it's a thing where I'm like, well, is she saying that, or is Natalie Portman imagining it? Or is she saying that, but Natalie Portman is like tweaking the delivery of it to where it sounds more harsh than it is? That's the fact. Is like, everything with Mila Kunis in this movie, like, we really rarely, if ever, know. Maybe it's happening, but it's distorted through Nina's viewpoint.
Well, it's an unreliable narrator because she's losing her mind, and then also because she's dying. But then, yeah, also the film encourages us actively to not trust everything that we're seeing, because we're seeing all of these hallucinations in the mirrors and so on. So we are forgiven for not always knowing what is real in this film. Yeah. Okay, so we're still getting introduced to all of these people. There's a lot of excitement because this is essentially the first day back at school. So we get a ballet montage. Yes, the shoes getting prepped, the company practicing. And then everything changes when Tomas Leroy, who is played by Vincent Cassel, arrives, and everybody is suddenly standing up a little straighter, paying a bit more attention, really hitting those, I don't know, I was going to try to... I was like, what is a ballet term, you fucking idiot?
Yeah, this is very much like The Devil Wears Prada, Meryl Streep's introduction scene, but with Vincent Cassel.
Yeah, exactly. So he helpfully gives us the story of Swan Lake as he is walking around tapping various girls. And then he finishes by asking who can embody the dual role. And we hopefully see his reflection is split into in the mirror. So, you know, symbolism.
Playing a lot with those reflections, as you said.
Yeah, I do love it. I mean, I'm such a dumb slut for a good mirror image.
Okay, so this is your theme month, is what I'm hearing.
I did program it, so yes.
This is your bread and butter. This is your bread and butter.
Yeah, I like pretty much all the movies we're covering, except for the one that I haven't seen, which I'm very excited to cross off my fucking bucket list. Okay, so later, Nina hears Beth smashing up her dressing room, and this is almost entirely audio before visual. So it's Nina listening and we delay getting to see Beth. And then she just storms out. And it's very, what the fuck are you looking at?
Oh my God. Fuck. Like half of Winona Ryder's lines are just profanity in this movie. It's so good. And
it's great.
Again, I would have, because we were starved for Winona Ryder content when this movie came out. And I'm just so happy for her to be in this Oscar nominated movie. And then she has like maybe 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah. She's a bit of an enigma. She's a bit of a figurehead, right? We've got to kick the star out so that we can bring in the ingenue. It's a tale as old as time. But yeah, it's fun because we're not used to seeing Winona play these kinds of roles. And I would argue still not seeing her play these kinds of roles because now she's into Stranger Things business.
I was going to say, because I think Stranger Things is what finally, again, but what that was 2016 when that started. So like 15 years after her shoplifting stuff is when she finally was like getting roles again, and I like regularly, and I was like, yay Stranger Things, but please do other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the good or bad news is that it'll all be done by the end of this year, so she'll be back in the cultural consciousness, but hopefully, yeah, people will be saying, oh, she's available, we can do things with her again.
I hope so. I mean, we got Beetlejuice 2 last year, but again, like she's
barely in that movie.
She's a piece of an ensemble in that movie.
Yeah. All right, so let's cut to a dizzying handheld sequence. So this is the first time that we really get to see the ballet stuff outside of Nina's introductory dream. And yeah, we talked about the way that it's shot, but it is so immersive. It's so energetic. I just love how much vibrant energy this immediately infuses into all of the dance sequences.
And this is a little gimmicky, but like we have Nina doing all these spins, and I love that we are in the POV of her, which is doing these spins, but it always freezes when we get to look at Tomas.
Yes, the objects of our affection, because that will also apply when we start to hallucinate, but also with Lily.
Yes, who I don't think she interrupts her, but you know. Whatever.
Right. I mean, I guess you could say the underlying theme, you joked about it off the top, but this truly is let the girl have sex and or masturbate the movie.
And that's what I meant when I said I find Nina to be a very frustrating character, because I know that what she is doing right now is not a healthy way to live. But this is the only life she's known.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's a surprisingly limited amount written on the queerness in this film. I gathered it was a bunch of gross straight guys who were salivating about the lesbian scene, like, oh, who doesn't want to see Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis like les out? And it's just like, well, there's quite a bit more to it than that.
I will confess, though, I mean this like a non-creepy way, but like, because them having a sex scene was known before this movie came out.
Yes.
Like that was a talking point, and I was so excited because, and again, like obviously we're getting queer films, and we're still like 7 years after Brokeback Mountain, but like queerness in film still wasn't really mainstreamified yet. And so when you've got a film like this, which has, again, like, it's a dream sequence of a lesbian scene, but still, you have these two world famous actresses, Mila Kunis and Natalie Portman, doing queerness in this genre film that's getting Oscar nominations. Like, this was such a big deal for me as a movie watcher.
Absolutely. Yeah. And here's the thing, even if you want to say, oh, well, it's all a dream, like so much of this film.
Yeah.
I don't think that negates the fact that it's our lead character, it's our protagonist having a sex dream about another woman. So to me, Nina is canonically bisexual at minimum, if not pansexual.
Yes, I would agree with that. I would actually, I don't even think Nina... Because do you believe her when she says she's had sex before?
Oh, God, no. This is virgin territory, 100%.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought, too. And so it's a thing where, like you said, infantilize. Like, she's very much in, like, the state of arrested development in some shape, way, or form. And I don't even know if I would say bisexual. I would just say she's experimenting. Like, she's trying to figure herself out.
Exactly. Like, what makes the parts tingle when I look at these people? Like, there's this horrible moment where Tomas... he more or less sexually assaults her in order to get a rise out of her so that he can say, this is what you need to give me when you're doing the Black Swan. And then he just walks away because from his mind, it's mission accomplished, right? Okay, I've shown her what she needs to be feeling. I've led her along. And she just goes, no, please. And you're just like, girl, he assaulted you at the workplace, like, but she's so desperate, she's so starved for physical intimacy.
Well, and to please people, like, she is constantly trying to please her mother and Tomas. Like, it's so frustrating just to watch her be so meek when I'm just like, bitch, just say something.
But I think this goes hand in hand with the idea of perfectionism in this movie. So I'm going to bring in my one and only reference for this film. So there's a piece written by a writer named Phoenix for Autostraddle called Black Swan Has Mad Chicks Made Me Feel Crazy, which I think is a funny title. Okay. But Phoenix writes, Nina views ballet less as a performative art driven by passion and more as a channel through which she can obsessively strive towards perfection. Pushing her body to the point of breaking, Nina is able to justify a variety of unsavory habits, including self-injury and bulimia, to achieve what she and those around her regard to be her very best. And I love this idea that ballet is such a controlled, so structured thing that she, like, where does all of her issues with Tomas stem from? Is that she wants to be the best possible dancer and he wants her to let fucking go. And the intersection of that is her discovering her sexuality.
Yes. Well, because he's saying, you know, like, perfection doesn't mean you're perfect. And like, he keeps saying that with Mila Kunis' character, you know, where it's like, look, she's imperfect, but it's passion. You know, there's something there. And that's what I want. That's what you have to be as the Black Swan. And unfortunately, because Nina spent her entire life under the thumb of her mother, who, you know, didn't get to have the career she wanted and blames everything on this child and puts everything on her. Like, that's just never going to happen.
No. And I completely agree. It's just such an interesting intersection, right? Where you think, okay, this girl was brought up to believe you have to do certain things in order to accomplish, like, you have to be the best, which means being perfect. And yet this guy is saying, well, actually, that girl who just lets her hair down and dances and kind of flirts and has her way, like, that's more of what I'm looking for. I will say, you said earlier that we don't get a ton of ballet movies. Like, it's a bit of a limited genre.
Yeah.
The one that I feel a lot of us gays will probably remember is Center Stage, the movie that introduces Zoe Saldana.
Joe, I have seen that movie 3 times because my sister used to, because my sister did dance and, like, watch it.
Yeah, that movie is the best. It's amazing.
I hated it.
Oh my God, no!
I have not seen it since I was, like, 10 or 11 years old, but I always thought it was the most boring movie I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh, you should go back and rewatch it. It's actually more fun than you realize. The acting is not fantastic because they are all actually professional dancers, except for Zoe Saldana, who, kind of like Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis, she studied and she got good enough to pass, but she is not believable. Like, she's way too fucking tall to be a ballet dancer. But I love all of these ballet shows that they use the narrative of, well, my show is going to be new and different. We're going to take a stale, old-fashioned text and we're going to do it in a new, refreshing, non-boring kind of way. And that's really what Thomas is trying to sell in this movie, even though all of the pieces that we see, to me, look pretty classical. Like when he says this is a contemporary, fresh take on it, I just thought, what is it that you're doing that's different?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I kind of get it. There's just a fluidity to Mila Kunis's character too that I'm like, Nina, just let loose. Just do it. Do what she's doing.
Exactly. Study this other girl. But the problem is that even that is too polished. It's too professional. It's too frigid, right? Like we just keep calling her frigid and she needs to relax. Like I do love that the undercurrent of this film is that she's striving for perfection. What she needs to do is let go, but the only way for her to truly let go is to liberate herself sexually and then die.
Well, it's not the only way to do it, but that
I mean, it's the only way she knows how.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So this is Nina in the audition, and as we said, she's giving White Swan, she's not giving Black Swan, and then she gets distracted when Lily comes in the middle of her pirouettes, and it's a bit gauche of Lily to just kind of slam the door like that, because we are trying to do something that requires a lot of concentration, but it definitely knocks Nina off balance. She stumbles, and this fucks her perfect routine up.
But she wasn't doing a good job anyway, because Thomas wasn't impressed with, because this is her doing the Black Swan and she's not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. He keeps yelling at her to attack it. And she clearly has no idea what that actually means in execution. Mm-hmm. All this to say, we do have some tears when we call Mom afterwards. But weirdly enough, when she's out on the street, Nina does see a sort of darker, sexier version of herself when she walks by someone. And we see afterwards that it's just some random dark-haired brunette. But initially, it's very much, oh, okay, so she's seeing things, or she's wanting to see the darker, sexier side of herself.
Yeah, but she doesn't.
Wow. I mean, it's called, hi, girl, you ate part of an egg and a pink grapefruit for breakfast. So maybe you need to eat a bit more.
Possibly. Yeah, that might do it.
Yeah. So she does cry into Mommy's arms when she gets home. And then she continues to work on them spins because she thinks that that's the reason why she didn't perform well, is that she stumbled. And it's like, no, girl, that wasn't the issue. But okay, keep practicing.
Like, you weren't doing a good job. You weren't doing what he wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we do this until we split a toenail. So this is our first instance of the horrors on the body that ballet causes.
I'm so glad we don't have to see her peeling this nail off of her toe. But I
remembered her doing that, but then I realized, it's the hangnail.
It's the finger.
Yeah.
But we get a full view of this split toenail, and God, it looks gross.
And here's the thing, you got to go up on that again tomorrow a bunch of fucking times. Like, there's no opportunities for the body to heal itself because she is always in rehearsal.
Exclusively on ESPN Plus, UFC 313, Saturday. Reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira defends his title against number one contender Magomed Ankalaev, and an explosive lightweight bout between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Pazzi. UFC 313, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNplus.com/PPB.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Yeah, and she's about to be in it a hell of a lot more.
Indeed, yeah. But first, we need to get a bit more with Mom infantilizing us, so Erica does treat the wound. She reassures her, don't worry if you didn't get this. There's plenty of opportunity. Like, this is the weird thing about Erica. She clearly aspires for her daughter to do as well as she possibly can, but she's also very comfortable with her daughter remaining in the status quo. It's almost like she wants to trap her in amber, leave her in this children's pink fucking bedroom for the rest of her life. And it's like, God. I'll tuck you in, and here's your little music box to send you off to bed.
Yeah, because this is the only remaining remnant of her career, so she has to preserve her daughter, for lack of a better phrase.
It's just weird how she's conflating keeping Nina as a child with also, oh, I'm living vicariously through you as a dancer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, she needs
therapy. Yeah. Okay, so in the morning, Nina applies Beth's lipstick because, of course, we stole it from the dressing room after Beth had her meltdown. And then she goes to see Tomas. So she's a child playing adult, and she thinks, oh, well, maybe if I speak to him, I can convince him to give me another shot. But she's so fucking meek, Trace.
Yes, but I love that he calls her out immediately, though, because he's like, didn't you just get yourself dolled all up for this to demand the part? Like, because that's what he wants from her. Like, it's so frustrating to just see her crawl back into her shell.
Yeah, he's looking for some kind of spark. He wants to see the emotion, the passion, as you said earlier. But the problem is like, he also just doesn't know how to respond to her. He antagonizes her as opposed to trying to work with her, which to me is just the wrong approach. But his way of eliciting a response is to kiss her without her consent, and then she bites him, and this will ultimately be the move that gets her the job.
Which, admittedly, okay, I get it. I'm not a casting director, I'm not a director, period. But he cast her because, yes, the bite is what showed him, okay, you do have a black swan in you. But I'm also like, okay, but again, based on the unclear timeline of this movie, you're really willing to risk pulling that out of her before the show starts? Okay, you've already cast Cinia Solo because she does embody both parts, but maybe she doesn't do the White Swan well enough. It's never really clear, except for the fact that he just has an interest in Nina.
Yeah, and whether you want to read that as sexual or if you want to argue he's looking to surprise or upset the ballet world by introducing someone that no one would have expected, then yeah, it's all of those things. I don't think it's a deal breaker for the film, but yeah, we are lacking a lot of clarity.
Do you think, though, he's actually being lecherous because he wants to fuck her, like he's trying to take advantage of her? Or do you think in his mind he's doing it because he's trying to push her to make her the best that she can be?
I mean, I referenced Showgirls off the top, in part because, yeah, Showgirls is a version of All About Eve as well, but this does have a certain seedy underbelly to show business kind of vibe. Like when he invites Nina back to his apartment after the big public declaration at the party,
right?
It gave me douche chills. I just thought, oh, this is Zach, the Kyle MacLachlan character, asking Nomi to come back to his place in his red convertible.
Oh, for sure. I guess that was a scene for me too, where I was kind of like, oh, he doesn't put any moves on her. Like he just wants to talk.
I don't know. Like there's no reason they couldn't have just gone out for a drink. Why did they have to go back to his place? The insinuation to me was that he does try to fuck these ballet dancers. And like I definitely think he fucked Beth.
I definitely think that as well. But I guess it's the thing. It's like he doesn't try to do this with Nina in that scene, and so it's again not excusing any of this, not trying to make excuses for. I'm just saying I really do think that he thinks that he's just like, I don't think this is sexual for him. I don't think it's sexual for him. I do think you're right that it's a power thing because yes, why bring her to the apartment when they can just stop by a bar on the way home? Well, because why not show her your wonderful big New York apartment, like whatever.
Yeah. He is trying to dazzle her to a certain degree, but yeah.
But I don't get like actual sexual interest from him with her.
In some ways, I appreciate the fact that we have to wonder because I think it makes it a bit more interesting. I do think it makes Tomas a bit more of a complicated character for this film.
There's also, I mean, if we're talking about how much of this movie we don't know is real or not, there's also another read potentially where he does have sex with her and she blocks it out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. because even when she gets home, it's quite late. And obviously we have Erica making insinuations. You know, he's got this reputation.
Yeah.
And I think that's meant to just be an inference to the way he treated Beth. But you could read it in a grander scale than that.
Yeah, no, I think there's a pathology here, but we just don't know enough about it.
Exactly. Yeah. In part because a lot of this film truly is from Nina's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not getting scenes without her in them. So we have to assume that many of them are being focalized through her disintegrating sanity perspective.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So... yeah, I do love this exchange where she mistakenly congratulates Veronica for getting the part, and then Veronica claps back, and it's just like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But just in case you thought we were being too mean-spirited when we call Nina infantilized, when she locks herself into the bathroom so that she can call, she goes, "He picked me, mommy."
Mommy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's this poor 5-year-old girl trapped in this 30-year-old woman's body.
I think she's meant to be 25.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. She's definitely not meant to be over 30. 30 would be way over the hill for the first big performance. Yeah.
Yeah, Natalie Portman would have been like 28 or 29 when she was filming this.
Yeah, so default dial her down as opposed to up.
Mm-hmm.
I do love when she comes out of the bathroom stall. Trace, there's lipstick on the mirror. It doesn't say soon, and we haven't chopped off anybody's hair, but it does say whore.
So do we think this is real? Do we think this was Veronica? Do we think this was Lily?
I think this was Veronica.
Yeah, I think so too. Too.
Just because it happens almost immediately afterwards. So I think it's safe to assume Veronica is still mad. She follows her in there. She's talking on the phone. Cool. I'll send her a quick message.
I mean, it sucks because she's mad at her because she implied that she got the part, which is what Nina did believe.
Yes.
And I'm just like, Nina, why don't you explain that shit to her? Talk, say something.
No. She avoids conflict. She wants to be perfect. She's living in her own head at all times.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's also pretty clear that the other girls don't, maybe not that they don't like her, but they don't know her. Like, none of them talk to her. And sometimes they poke fun at her.
The number of times that we see her by herself while other people are just down the hall gossiping, talking. And it's clear that Nina doesn't engage in these kinds of things. You know, we were making fun of Beth and Nina tries to defend her as a beautiful dancer. But of course, Nina would think that because Beth was technical. So she did all the things that Nina aspires to be, whereas these other girls are a little closer to Lily. You know, this is a job and they want to do well, but they're not obsessing about it. They're not making the pianist stay late.
Well, no, that pianist is ready to go.
I've got a lake too, you know. I was like, oh, hey Mo,
okay.
Sassy.
I mean, it's also like because I think that's meant to be the night before opening night. So I'm like, yeah, like, go home.
I mean, Jesus Christ, like if you don't have it now, you ain't got it.
Right? Like, anyway.
Okay, so she does go home. This is where we get the next iteration of the scratch. So did you ever think that this was truly just her scratching herself, or did you clock it as, oh, we got this shot early on of Lily coming in and we see the wing tattoo on her back? And to me, that's very much visual foreshadowing of, okay, when you see the scratches on Nina's back, those will become wings.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, when I first saw this, I thought we were doing actual like body horror transformation. So I was like, yeah, she's turning into a swan. Like, fuck
there we go. Bring it on. Okay, so we go home to the sheet cake because, of course, we got the gig. Mom is very excited, but then, ooh, that's so many calories. No, I couldn't. My stomach is really upset. I mean, I love this scene for Barbara Hershey because, as you said, flips on a dime.
Yeah, like, fine, then it's garbage. But then we infantilize Nina more because we, like, pinky some icing onto our finger and have Nina lick it off.
Mom, no.
Like, what the fuck, Mom? Yeah, I'm just like, and the lengths Nina goes to like,
she placates her.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, well, this is how we got locked in this cycle, right? Clearly, and this is a little bit why I referenced the third film in my opening. I really got shades of Carrie this time around, in part because we just talked about it last month. But,
yeah,
you know, there's no religious component to Erica, so she's not, you know, she's not doing that angle. But
ballet is her religion.
Right. Yeah, it is a fanatical obsession to the point where when we see her painting studio, when all of those paintings start talking, it's just like, these women are both banana pants.
Well, yeah, I was like, oh, your art career didn't take off either, did it?
Well, it's not my favorite type of art, I'll put it that way.
I don't like it when paintings talk to me, sorry.
It could just be the Molly. Or it could just be your brain. Yeah.
Molly doesn't make you think like hallucinate. It's not a hallucinogen. Like that is Nina's mental illness creeping in.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we go to rehearsal. This is our first day. We're practicing in front of the whole company. Tomas deems Nina's White Swan very nice, but obviously that's not what she needs to work on. And then, yes, when we see Lily effortlessly dancing in the other room, Tomas, he's just so mean about it, right? Oh,
yes.
It's not enough to just say, oh, look at her. She's so effortless. That's what you need to embody, Nina. He says, she's not faking it. And it's like, well, Nina's not faking it either. This is just the only way she knows how to do it.
He has a very antagonistic way of trying to get the performance he wants out of her. And to me, I'm just like, can't you just like communicate better?
Wow.
But that's not what he does. And to the point where I'm also just like, why don't you just fucking make Lily the fucking swan? But then maybe I'm like, well, maybe her White Swan isn't good enough, you know?
Part of me thinks, why wouldn't you have one person do the White Swan and then have someone who looks similar? Like you've got two nearly identical or passable actors.
So, because that's something that the movie doesn't make entirely clear. So this is in the Swan Lake plot, but basically it's almost like the Little Mermaid whenever Ursula becomes Vanessa, I think is her name, to trick Eric into marrying her and falling in love with her and not Ariel. But it's like, yeah, like the prince meets the Swan Princess, like, you know, they're talking, and he goes, and it's like ever after. It's like, oh, I'm gonna marry her at the ball, but then this double comes in sent by Rothbart, and he thinks it's her, so he professes his love to her, but he professes his love to this double, Odile, and unfortunately by doing that it ruins any chance he has of saving the Swan Princess, because the Swan Princess, to break the spell, has to be told I love you by someone who has never been in love before. So by telling the double, oh, I love you, that ruins any chance he has of saving her, so she decides to kill herself instead. So to your point, though, by what I'm saying is, though, I agree. I'm sure there have been performances of Swan Lake where they do cast two different women, but I think for the emotional impact of what you're trying to do here, you have to you have to cast the same person.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's very little conflict if you suddenly have, I guess it would just be two actors vying for more screen time or stage time. And that's not as compelling as, oh, this woman is losing her mind because she thinks her understudy is trying to take her place.
And actually, do you think that Lily does have like designs to take this role out from under her?
I think there is one moment very late in the film when Nina shows up and her mom had called in that she was sick. There's this moment where Lily says, what is she doing here? She's supposed to be sick. And I think that is legitimate Lily, who was ready to go on as the lead opening night. And that's why she knocks on the door later and says, you know what?
I'm sorry. Yeah. But again, though, I don't think that came from, like, I don't think she's been plotting this entire time or trying to hang out with Nina to get the part. No. Yeah, and she doesn't give her Molly, so she won't go to the show the next day. You know, I don't think any of that's there. But yes, I agree. In that moment, yeah, she's very angry. But it's also, I mean, think about it. She's just spent the past, like, hours getting ready to be the lead in this performance.
Yeah. And this is a career-making opportunity for these women, right? As I think Tomas says at one point, everybody wants to be you.
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants that role.
Yeah. And she's like, they want my part. Yeah, bitch. Everyone wants that part.
It's like, everybody. There's always someone younger and hungrier coming down the stairs after you, bitch.
Yes!
Okay, so let's talk about this big party where we make the announcement, because this is called Two Birds with One Stone, where Tomas just stands up there and publicly announces the retirement of Beth, who's not even next to him. She's just down in the middle of the crowd.
Oh, she's fully like Janine Garofaloing it from Romy and Michelle, where she's like dropping the beer out of her mouth.
Yeah. It doesn't help that he calls her his little princess, which we will later learn is a bit of a term of endearment. And again, I think a sexualized one, because that is what he ends up calling Nina when she performs fantastically and fatally at the end of the film. But this sets Beth off. So she storms out in the middle of the speech. So he pivots, he introduces Nina, and then he ends this toast with to Beth, to Nina, to beauty, as if conflating the two of them and their value is their beauty.
Yep.
Yeah. So he sucks. but we always knew this. I mean, here's the thing. I love Vincent Cassel because I think he's a great actor, but when I see him, I immediately get a vibe. And I'm like, that dude is either a perv, a villain, or both.
Yeah, he's got a really unique looking face where I just feel like all of his features are just a little bit too close together. And yeah, he just looks like a bad guy, like all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he often plays characters like this, where they are a little slippery, maybe a little bit slimy, they might be plotting something, they may sexually assault you. He plays this kind of character.
Mm-hmm. Well, I might add, but yes.
Oh, I think he's doing exactly what this character needs to be in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the hangnail. I think it's the Foley work.
Yeah, actually, I was going to mention that too. Like, there's squelching Foley work when Erica's cutting the cake earlier, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, gross.
But yeah, I agree. This, I mean, like, I'm a former nail biter, and so I've had experience with, like, ripping skin off of my fingers.
Oh, sure. Yep.
This is horrific.
Yeah, because it starts so innocuously. Like, I'm somebody who gets hangnails when I get stressed out, and the inclination is always just, okay, well, clip it off, because when it catches on something, it hurts a surprising amount, considering it's such a stupid little tiny thing.
Yep.
So I understand when she grabs it and you think, yeah, just pull it off a little bit. And then the whole finger practically, like, she almost degloves one finger.
Like, a whole strip of skin just comes off. And again,
so nasty. No wonder the old lady in front of me in the theater in 2010 hated this movie. She did not appreciate the body horror.
She just didn't like watching a woman slowly lose her mind over the course of an hour and 40 minutes.
She was like, oh, that's me. Am I actually here? Am I dissociating? Oh, yeah. Okay. I do love that, like, Lily just has so many unusual moments. It feels like Mila Kunis is just constantly pounding on doors and bursting in and upsetting the balance, because the whole time Nina has locked the bathroom door, so she has to go and let Lily in. And Lily comes in and just immediately takes off her underwear.
Oh, yeah. Like, she does it a lot in this movie where she just doesn't have panties on.
Doesn't have panties or has an extra top. Like, she's constantly ready to go from day to night.
Yeah, like, she might as well just be living on the street.
Well, I mean, she's a party girl, I think.
She's prepared to live on the street at a moment's notice.
Imagine there's just a whole other side movie of Lily where she says, like, yeah, I just have to make things happen. So I have to constantly be ready to do anything.
I would love to see, I mean, I will never get it, but I would love to see this movie from Nina, from Lily's POV.
Right, yeah. It's just Nina looking very oddly and reacting badly to every situation.
I was going to say, actually, anyone else's POV, and we can see what Nina's actually doing for most of this movie.
Yeah. Any kind of, do you consider this movie a twist movie? Or is it just too obvious that we're doing this right from the beginning?
I mean, again, I would say too obvious, but again, I was sitting there fucking 15 years ago being like, yes, we're Swan, like, let's do it. But I think it was more so I was hoping that was what we were doing, and that it wasn't just another, like, oh, it's a metaphor for her mental state movie, which is what we are doing.
It is what we're doing. Yeah. Okay, so when Lily comes in and she's disrobing publicly, obviously this is going to make someone who is not comfortable with their sexuality flee the fuck out of there. So she ends up going, this is where Tomas invites her for a drink. We get this moment where she pauses to look and consider a statue that has no arms, just wings. Ugh. It's a little on the nose, I'm not gonna lie, but it's fine. It's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, really. And then this is where we get our pièce de résistance. This is Winona Ryder actually getting to do something before we put her into a hospital bed for the rest of the film.
For the rest of the movie, yeah.
She gets to say all sorts of fun little lines like, are you a frigid little girl? Did you suck his cock?
You're a fucking whore. Like, she makes such a big impression over, like barely any screen time in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, she understood the assignment and she plays it very well.
Very, very, very well.
Yeah. All right. So we go to Tomas's. He talks about how he doesn't want any boundaries between them. And then he just asks her a bunch of invasive sexual questions. Again, because I think he's trying to unmoor her. He is deliberately pushing buttons because he wants her to start tapping into that. He wants her to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. But also, it feels like asking, as you've said a couple times, a 5-year-old about their sexual history.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is, I was surprised in this scene that he doesn't actually try to put the moves on her, but then I was kind of like,
it's already so invasive.
Well, yeah, and he's asking her these like very, very personal questions. And again, this is where I was brought back to that time with my theater teacher making these 2 kids, high school kids, make out in front of her for 10 minutes. You know, where I was like, well, it's excessive, but I mean, it worked.
Oh God. We cannot condone it. We do not condone this.
I'm not saying, I approve of it because it worked. I'm just saying it happens. It happened and it worked. Like, it is a fact.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So Nina ends up going home. This is where Erica asks her all the questions. Hey, are you secretly fucking this guy? Has he done anything untowards? But then we change the tone again when Erica notices that the back wounds have gotten more severe. So we drag Nina into the bathroom so we can very aggressively clip her nails. And I hate it.
This scene, this is the equivalent of like any scene in any movie where someone is slicing carrots and you're just like, all right, when are we going to cut ourselves? Like, when is that going to happen? And I actually love that. It's not restrained because this scene is very aggressive, but like I love that we don't like hurt her in this scene. It just, we constantly think she's going to.
And we should note the Foley work. You mentioned the squelching with the cake cutting. This has knife sounds tantamount to what happens in Scream when Ghostface is unsheathing the blade.
Oh yeah, it's almost the shower scene from Psycho.
It's wild. Like the sound does not match the action, but it makes it so much more harrowing.
So much worse. And also, this is when we really get our first clue that it's like, oh, so Nina has a history of self-harm. Like, this is not a new thing.
Well, and it seems to be subconscious. Like, she hurts herself in her sleep when she becomes overwhelmed.
She's stressed out.
Yeah, like she doesn't have the resources, and clearly Erica is not provided her with any to negotiate her feelings in a healthy way. As you said, therapy, step number 1, but you can't just wrap her up in a shrug. Like, Trace, that's what you do to babies so they don't cut themselves with their baby fingernails in the crib.
Oh, wow. I don't have a baby, so I wouldn't know anything about that.
It's just, it's another example of how Erica refuses to acknowledge you have a grown-ass adult daughter. Even if you want to say, oh, you're scratching yourself, so we should trim your nails. You don't need to do that, Erica. You have a 25-year-old daughter who can do it herself.
And that's the thing, though. It's whenever Nina starts showing any sign of independence, that's when Erica's mood changes.
100%. That cake's going in the garbage until you treat me like a mother of a young child.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you're not going to eat that cake when I tell you to? Fine. Fuck me then.
Exactly. Fuck my life for all the sacrifices I made, my career, blah, blah, blah.
Guess I'll just go fuck myself.
Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of sexual agency, because when Nina wakes up in the morning in this, children's bubblegum pink room, she masturbates a little bit.
Well, I'm sorry, she tries to masturbate. I had in my notes, like, can someone just let this girl finish masturbating?
Truly, yeah. Because, I mean, she starts to get into it. I will say, having just watched Baby Girl over the winter holidays, I appreciated seeing like women masturbating face down, because I feel like that's not something I often see. Like, it's usually just, a hand creeps towards the crotch or something, but it's always very safe. So this felt like I'm going to change positions so that I can get maybe a different angle, or so it feels better or something. And I guess I appreciated the honesty of this.
That's interesting. I mean, off the top of my head, I cannot name you like movies where I've seen women masturbating, but I actually feel like I do associate it with them, like being face down on the bed with their back kind of arched a little bit.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it seems logical. I'm sure there's a bunch of women just being like, oh, great, 2 gay men talking about women masturbating. who clearly don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Nope, not at all.
It's more just, this is a visual representation I feel like I'm not seeing consistently. But yeah, like this seems to be very much working for her until, oops, mom's in the chair next to me, jump scare.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like at least like she does get lost in the moment until she sees her mother, and so it's one of those things where you're so close to achieving what Tomas is asking of you, and then your mom has to be sitting in the fucking room.
Yeah. And I'm sure from Erica's perspective, oh, my daughter is hurting herself. I'll keep an eye out for her because I love and want to protect her so much. But also, 25 years old, let this girl have a lock on the door so that she can masturbate in peace.
But much like Tomas, Erica's all about power. So honestly, even though it's not sexual, like they are both using Nina for their same goals. It's just
they want to control her.
Power. Exactly. Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, but I love that this is treated as equal parts comedy beat and jump scare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It is kind of a jump scare.
Like, oh, I almost got caught. Okay, so we go to the rehearsal, and this is where we learn the news that Beth has walked into traffic. So she is in the hospital, and Tomas, ever the sensitive, caring person, says, well, she probably did it to herself because there's darkness in her. And, you know, it gets her into lots of trouble, but damn if it isn't exciting to watch. You just think, isn't this the woman you used to fuck that you like put her in your first ballet? How many years? Oh, you're a great dude.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't the one that pushed her into the traffic.
I was gonna say, yeah, you embarrass me at my public outing. How about I push you in front of a car? Terrible. Okay, so Nina does go to visit Beth at the hospital, and she can't help but check out the leg wound. In some ways, again, this is very childish, right? She's got this sense of curiosity that makes her lift up the sheet and gasp at, oh God, it's so bad. But I think also as a dancer, you would check to see, is it bad enough that maybe...
she can't dance again.
Exactly. And I think the reality is, the answer is no, she will not.
Well, but I think, though, her forced retirement all but sealed that deal, because I don't think any other ballet company would take a woman of a certain age.
Yes, over 30.
Yeah, exactly.
This haggard old crone of a dancer.
Like, Winona Ryder's still looking great. Even today, still looking great. And
looking fucking great, yeah.
But that's the thing, is like, this car accident didn't end her career. Her career was already done.
Yeah, well, and I think, again, we don't know the truth of whether she was drunk and it was an accident, if she purposely did it because maybe she was trying to end her own life because her career's over. We don't know. We don't know anything about Beth. But I think both of those are plausible, depending on what we know of just the sheer competitiveness of this world, right?
Yeah, I mean, because it doesn't seem like Beth really talked to the other girls or conversed with them very much. No. Because, I mean, it's the showgirls are all about Eve of it all. Yeah. She's the one we have to take down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so Nina goes home. She steals a piece of lumber from the garbage area. I don't even know what to call this section of her apartment, but she ends up hiding this in her room. And a lot of this part of the film is scene at home, scene in rehearsal, scene at home, scene at rehearsal. So we're just cutting back. Tomas is berating her for being too stiff, and then she's being worked on by a massage therapist. This looks so painful.
Oh my God. See, I was thinking it looks so relieving. when she finally cracks that foot, I was like, oh, thank God. Like, thank God.
I mean, yeah, there's something to be said for a medical massage or like a therapeutic massage. It's not just for pleasure. And obviously this is high performance athletes, so they need this kind of care and treatment. But just watching, I hate it when they dig into like the parts around your rib cage and your armpit, because it feels like the kind of parts of your body that people should not be pushing in forcefully.
Well, that's the therapy part.
I know, I just don't like it. Okay, but then we're back into another subpar rehearsal. Tomas publicly dresses her down, and then
like, would you fuck that girl? No.
God, it's so unprofessional and rude. But yes, of course he would do something like this. He eventually dismisses David and the other men so that he can play the prince with the frigid dancer. He kisses her aggressively. He gropes her, sexually assaults her. And this is when he then just leaves. And of course, she wants more because She's never been touched.
Well, and this is like, so, because she sees her double again watching her from the shadows, but oops, it's Lily smoking a cigarette, which, by the way, like ballet dancers smoking cigarettes, like, whoo, rebel.
Well, this is how we know, I guess Lily does not take it, quote unquote, as seriously, or maybe she just doesn't have the same kind of career aspirations. She understands, I will probably be somebody's backup, and then I will go off and do something else.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we talk about how Tomas is a prick, but Nina does seem a little hot for teacher. This does not land well with Nina, so she storms out after this. But then the very next scene, she's taking a bath and she's kind of masturbating again.
Again, she can't finish. Just let this girl finish masturbating.
Well, ironically enough, in this case, no one stops her but herself. She just kind of gives up, like... It's like when you get bored and you try to masturbate, but you realize it's not really the thing you want to do, so you just kind of stop.
I think maybe bathtub masturbation might be more of a female thing than a male thing. I don't know.
Right.
Masturbating in water for man is not... I don't think it's very fun.
It's not great.
But, But no, yeah, because she hallucinates the double again, although this time it's actually her, and that's what, like, seals the deal for her not to continue her journey to climax.
Is it her, or is it Lily, or is it both?
I thought it was Nina, but I mean, again, that's the thing. Like the way Aronofsky shoots some of this stuff, it's just you're never really quite sure. And it's the thing. Well, because I never would have said, "Oh yeah, Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis look alike," but
in this movie, they fucking do.
Yes,
it's wild. Yeah, the styling is great on these two actresses.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do see blood in the water, and it's coming from her fingernails. So then she cuts them, but then she sees the mirror doppelganger actually cut her finger purposefully, and it's all very like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next day, Tomas kind of puts her publicly on blast, so he makes her do the same sequence over and over and over again, to the point where she even says, do you have any notes? What should I be doing differently? And he dresses her down for being weak and saying that she shouldn't be complaining, because yes, everybody wants her role, but why is she talking to Lily about him? And... So she can't stand up for herself, so she tries to confront Lily about it, but she just makes a bigger mess of it because, of course, Lily's like, I said one thing, I said you're doing a great job.
Yeah, it's a thing where, because again, like, I think in another world, like, Lily and Nina could be really good friends. I mean, I love watching their scenes together because I like watching Lily try to just get Nina to open up, relax, loosen up a little, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
And so to see her take out this anger on Lily because...
She's the only person in your corner, by the way.
Right? I do love the whole, like, where she keeps apologizing and Thomas is like, stop fucking apologizing, you stupid bitch.
Like, that is not what I'm looking for. I want the fire. I want the person who bit my lip and so on. So
it's a thing where it's like, maybe she's so afraid of losing the part, but I was like, girl, if you don't do that, you will lose that part.
Yeah. You got to do the thing that makes you uncomfortable because that is what he needs from you. But also, he's a prick who doesn't know how to tell you how to get it.
In a way, he's giving her his own special brand of therapy.
Oh my God, stop.
You're
apologizing for this person.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that is what he's doing. It's not good therapy, but it's therapy.
It's what he thinks he's doing.
Well, but because it's also like he's trying to make her come to the realization herself instead of telling her he is telling her this is what you need to be doing, but he can't do it for her,
Part of me is just like, maybe as a man who controls whether she gets a job or gets fired, delegate. Like, there's a moment earlier where she's getting taught how to do the black swan motions by a female coach or like another trainer. And part of me was just like, maybe Tomas should get that woman to help her, or like, I don't know, like exercises of some kind, as opposed to, oh yeah, I'm going to wait until everybody else is gone, then I'm going to try to fuck you. It's like, dude, that is not the way. This is not how she's not responding well to this treatment.
Yeah.
Okay, so just in case we didn't understand how affected all of the women are in this film, we get this uncomfortable train ride home where the old man is leering at her, touching his own crotch while looking at her. And then this is when Erica asks, oh, has he done anything? When we go home, we get the exposition about how Erica used to be a dancer, but she gave it all up to raise Nina.
Yeah, because Nina also does start to clap back at her, where she's like,
yes.
I think she basically says something that amounts to, like, your career wasn't going anywhere anyway.
Yeah. I think we're meant to read it as Erica was a member of the chorus, or the core.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we start to get into a bit more heat between mother and daughter. This is when we get the knock at the door. Lily has arrived to apologize, and she says, hey, why don't you come out for drinks? I swear to God, if you look at the way that this is blocked or framed, you could start to argue that Lily never came here. Like, okay. I watched this scene and I was like, oh, this is where the hallucinations are happening. Lily's not actually here. And then I realized, oh, no, of course, she actually is there. But you could almost play it that way.
So I'm glad that you pointed that out because, yeah, I was looking ferociously at the scene when she comes back later after the club. And it's very much a M. Night Shyamalan Sixth Sense thing where it's like, Erica's not really acknowledging
exactly
Lily. So, but yeah, I do think in this case, yes, Lily is here. I think all of this is real up until the point when Nina leaves the club.
Yeah, like they maybe got the cab together, but
I don't think
probably not.
No, because Lily does say that she was fucking not Sebastian Stan, but the other one.
Yes. Yeah. So this is what we do. We go out for drinks. We do a little bit of Molly. We change tops. We're dodging calls from mom. Yeah, we're partying with Tom and Jerry, not their real names. But Trace, did you happen to clock who Tom is?
So I know it's Toby Hemingway, but I don't know who that is outside of he's in the Covenant.
Yes, that's the thing. So because it's him and Sebastian Stan, who is also in the fucking Covenant.
Oh my God, I didn't. I forgot Sebastian Stan was in the. What a random thing.
I know, it's hilarious. It's so funny to me. I also wanted to highlight that we have all presumably been drinking. We don't know if the guys did Molly with the girls or if it's just them. But I kind of love that everybody looks a little bit hot and sweaty in this sequence. Like, most of the time people look professionally poised, except when they're unraveling from weird body horror shit. But everybody in this moment actually looks like they're at a club. You know, when you drunk a little too much and your body's trying to sweat the alcohol out, they've got that glow about them.
Well, I also think it's because they're rolling. So, like, that's going to... So, I regardless of the fact of the dancing or not, I think that just because they're rolling, that's an Aronofsky touch where it's like, no, they need to be sweating.
Yeah. So we do try to tell the guys a little bit about, we're dancers and we're at the ballet. The guys are clueless and stupid and it's kind of amusing. But Nina does tell Andrew, that would be the Sebastian Stan character, not Jerry.
Yeah.
But she tells him that the end of Swan Lake ends with a suicide and he doesn't really know how to respond to that. And she tries to tell him, oh, it's beautiful. And you think, okay, so when you know where the movie is going, this is not only foreshadowing, but it does, I guess, recontextualize it from a straightforward tragedy to, professionally speaking for Nina, a happy outcome.
Yes. I also do want to point out, I guess, too, for Lily's potential duplicitousness. So she does tell Nina, the Molly lasts for a couple hours tops.
Yes. Molly
typically lasts for anywhere from 4 to 8 hours, so... But so again...
She only really told her part of it then.
Yes, but again, is she doing that because she's trying to fuck her up? Because she doesn't want her to have a good day the next day? Because the next day is the opening, right? Or is it... They're on stage the next day.
Yeah.
They're performing on stage, but they're not actually opening. I do think she's just trying to get her to loosen up here. Like, she's doing what Thomas is doing, albeit... I got nervous too because she doses her drink when she turns down the Molly the first time, but then
when she gets called out, she does acknowledge it.
Yes, so it's not a Terrifier 2 situation.
Yeah, which I was thinking about, but no, I mean, I think there's definitely some people who might clap back at us and say, no, this is definitely her trying to fuck around with Nina's success. I do tend to read it your way, where this is her attempt to say, this girl is so fucking uptight. She just needs to chill a little bit, work it out on the dance floor, maybe get some D, maybe get some V.
I mean, Joe, how many times when we've been together in person have I told you should really do some drugs with me sometime?
Yeah, and you don't take no for an answer either. Oh my God, you're a Tomas.
And I'm not trying to ruin your career.
Well, that's because our careers are tied together now.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. But seriously, Honestly, I've told Joe to do Molly so many times.
This is true. Yes, he does try to get me to do many drugs whenever we're together. So here's the thing. When we do let our hair down, it does seem like we're having a fucking good time. I mean, admittedly,
Yes.
there's a very unsettling moment where we go from the dance floor to all of a sudden Nina is making it with some random dude in the bathroom. And I love how there's no transition. So it's almost a jump cut. And it's helpful because we then know how Nina feels. You know, she's like, wait, what the fuck? I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
But it does seem like she was having fun.
Yeah, which again, I think that's what makes the tragedy of the climax so tragic for me, is because you see Nina start to break out of her shell, and you just like, I want that movie. I want the feel good movie where it's like, yeah, Nina like learns independence.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's like a Happy Movie trailer cut of this where it's just her being like, and then I did Molly, and then I got eaten out, and then I had the best dance of my life. The end.
The end. My life was solved.
There was no gaping stomach wound. I didn't bleed out on a mattress or anything. I'm fine. Okay, well, let's talk about this sex, because you alluded to it earlier that you were excited that there was queer sex in this very mainstream Oscar-nominated film. I'm disappointed in the idea that people wanted to make a big deal out of it. Like, I gathered they were asked about this a lot.
All the time, yeah.
And I'm not going to downplay, because I truly do think that this is a hugely important narrative and character moment in the film. Like, I'm happy it's here because I think it tells us a ton about not just who Nina is and maybe what she likes, but this feels like a breakthrough moment. Like I wrote in my notes, finally sexual satisfaction.
Yeah. She finally gets to come in this
She finally
scene.
gets to come, and it looks great. Like, this is actually... It's shot a little bit more risque than I was expecting. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, it's graphic without showing nudity. I mean, this is a very passionate love scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we haven't really talked about the costuming very much. That's, to me, the other slightly heavy-handed thing about the film. You know, Nina is always in white or pink at the most, and Lily is always in black. So even in this moment, when we get them down to like bras and panties, it is white and black, as if, oh, Lily she's still the bad girl. She's the black swan, even when it comes to sex.
Yep, very much so. But still, because this is arguably the end of Nina's happy story, because nothing good happens for after this. But it's nice at least that she gets this bit of an emotional and physical climax.
Exactly. Yeah. So we should note that, when they did come back, they had to like get around Erica, and it's almost like one of those moments where the lovers who have the parents who don't understand them, and they have to, run away holding hands, and there's a nice montage or something. Only in this case, it's oral sex. Yeah. So Nina wakes up the next day. She's all alone, and she arrives at the ballet, and Lily is dancing her part. And initially you think, oh, it is this moment of betrayal. She was designed to show up late so that Lily could take her spot. And I really like that we have this moment immediately where Lily says, don't read into this. He just asked me to do it so that we could do the blocking. Yeah. I'm not here to take your part.
Yeah, well, because this is where we learn, too, like, Lily hasn't seen Nina since she left the club last night. And so...
Yeah, because she was dicking down with Tom.
Well, and so that's the other thing. So where you can say, oh, well, yeah, she was really trying to fuck up Nina and, like, have her not wake up the next day. Not possible, because she wasn't there.
Yeah, she was actually off fucking up her own evening/morning by, like, getting laid and having fun.
Man, but you know what, though? Good on you for being able to come to work like this the next day.
Oh, my God. I can barely roll out of bed if I've had a night of heavy drinking or, other bad quote unquote behavior. This idea that I'm going to get up, I'm going to put on my sweats and start doing pirouettes and I don't know. Yeah. Whatever the ballet terms are.
You won't be rolling out of bed when you've spent a night rolling.
Terrible. But yes, so this is where we get confirmation that was nothing more than a lazy, wet dream, which, Diablo Cody, did you jot that one down for us?
Lazy Lohan. But again, she did it, though. She fucking did it.
Yeah. So Nina can't make herself throw up when she goes home, but she does decide, I'm done with these stuffed animals and being infantilized, so they're all going down the trash.
It's full on like Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns destroying all of her stuffed animals.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
And then we're back at rehearsal because this movie loves to do these scenes back to back like this. And
it's exhausting.
It is, yeah. It feels like we never get a break. So in some ways, it feels like the movie is constantly accelerating towards the big show, and we know something terrible is going to happen. But it does trap us in this cycle, like there's no downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So he is providing commentary, like character motivation, as Nina is going through the motions. And then we end this dress rehearsal. She's up on this platform and he says, okay, and now you jump to your death. So do it.
Get off, bitch.
Do it. Do it already. And she kind of limply falls a little bit.
She doesn't even fall right. Like, why did you cast her, Tomas?
It's not very convincing. She is going to have to work on this for sure. So we go to a costume fitting. We learn that Nina has lost weight. We also see that she is desperately trying to cover up because, she's still got these shoulder injuries and they don't seem to be getting much better. If anything, they look a little bit worse.
Ooh, and they start getting bumps. And the bumps are the hallucination thing because I believe that she's just got a scratch rash here from
exactly.
her.
Yeah, like it's a stress thing and that's it. But yeah, I love the bumps.
The feather. There has to be a name for these, but I call them the feather holes, basically. Like,
sure.
It just looks so gross. And it does feel very Cronenberg, actually.
It does. And I don't know if this is makeup or if we did this in digital. The moment where she actually gets her wings when she's doing the Black Swan, it doesn't look great. It's just not convincing enough for me, but I feel like these moments, these subtler moments, work really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it's just her back, like, this is very much a makeup job. Like, this isn't but I think you're right, though. Yeah, I mean, obviously the transformation at the end, which luckily it's quick.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's just 2010 CGI.
Exactly. Yeah, we saw this in stuff like Legion, that Paul Bethany movie.
Oh my
Sorry,
God.
that was unfair. I apologize.
No, that is one of those movies where I just remember, like, yeah, I don't hate a lot of movies, but I just remember hating that movie so much.
It's just not great. And then to think that they did a 2-season TV
show! A TV show! On that!
A dumb bitch named me watched all of it.
Was the show good?
No!
Oh, okay.
But it did have Giles from Buffy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I was excited for the movie because it had Kate Walsh from Grey's Anatomy, and they just killed her immediately.
Oh, yes, they did. Although that scene of the grandma going up the diner, that was pretty good.
Yeah, but that was in the trailer. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, sorry. Off sidetrack. Okay. So this is the point where we learn Lily has been made the alternate. And even though we had a come to Jesus apology moment earlier, Nina clearly does not trust her. So she goes and immediately cries to Tomas.
I think, too, this is where shades of her mother are apparent in Nina. Like, she just can't trust. She can't trust anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, I mean, she can, but she can't. It's just unfortunate.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
Yeah, exactly.
Carrie, don't go to the prom.
Exactly.
Yeah. Credit to Tomas, because obviously we have talked shit about him 99.5% of the time on this episode. He does reassure Nina that she's going to be fine, and he tells her to get rest because he believes in her. Like, he wasn't unhappy with her performance at this dress rehearsal, stage rehearsal. Obviously, she's not killing it, but he does believe, I think, in this moment that she will get there by showtime.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, of course, Nina does not take this advice because she never does anything that he tells her to do, in some ways rightfully, and in this case, wrongfully, because she just continues to stay and practice and practice and practice. And then we had previously had the moment where he dismissed all the guys and he sexually assaulted her. The lights turned out briefly, and that was to anticipate this moment where she's by herself in the studio and the lights go out and she spooks herself.
Okay, that makes so much sense because the first time the lights go out with everyone, I was like, why is this here? But that makes sense.
I default assumed, I mean, I think within the world of the film, they might be on a
A timer.
Yes, thank you. And
well, yeah. But I just didn't figure out why the first time when it happens, like there's not any narrative consequence for it. It just kind of halts proceedings for a little bit. So but that makes sense that it's anticipating this later in the film.
Yeah, and this is some good mirror doppelganger stuff. You know, a credit to Natalie Portman for acting opposite herself and making this all look very convincing. You know, I love the moments where the reflection does what you think it should do, and then it doesn't. And there's that satisfying moment where you realize, ooh, something weird and supernatural's going on, even if there isn't. But.
Yeah, or like there's like a delay in the reflection. Like it's actually, we just talked about that in Amityville, the Clock movie last month.
Yeah, I mean, it's tried and true. Okay, so after she gets scared, she starts wandering around. She hears people laughing. And of course, I'm going to say this is all in her mind. I don't think this is real. But again, people could quibble. She does see Tomas animalistically fucking Lily. And then there's just this abrupt jump cut when she like runs outside of...
But it is Lily, but then it becomes Nina after a certain cut.
Oh, okay. So yeah, definitely not real.
Yeah, so I think that's when she runs away. But again, like all this stuff is happening so quickly. It's not even like a rapid edit per se, but it's still hard to... It's like as soon as you think you figure out who it is, it cuts.
Yeah, we're moving away from it already.
Yeah.
So speaking of, we're outside and then all of a sudden we're in the hospital. We're checking on Beth and also returning all of these stolen items that like, oh girl, are you maybe also minoring in theft at the same time as all of these other things?
Oh my God. You know, there was probably a review that pointed that out. That was like, and then there's a klepto plot that's involved with Winona Ryder.
And it never goes anywhere. Jesus. Yeah. So she does give her all these things back. But yeah, I mean, Beth actually kind of wakes up. I think this is firmly in the territory of none of this is actually happening. Or maybe she does go to the hospital and she leaves the items, but do I think that Beth then stabs herself in the face with this nail file a bunch of times? No. Do I think that Nina actually stabbed her in the face because she's holding on to it when she gets into the elevator? It's like, no.
Yeah, that's a thing. Because Beth also becomes Nina in a shot whenever she's like stabbing herself. I'm more inclined to believe, yes, that she does go to the hospital, return to stuff, but none of the other stuff actually happens.
Exactly.
However, but
we don't know for sure.
I wouldn't fully shut out the idea that she stabbed Beth in the face. However, I feel like if that were the case,
I think we'd have to see it later, right? Like you'd have to get some kind of confirmation.
Unless this is kind of, because maybe, because we don't see a wound on Nina here, but like maybe this is anticipating the wound she will inflict on herself later when she thinks she's killing Lily.
Right. You know what? I could see that. Yeah.
So, but again, like we don't see a wound on Nina in this moment. So whoever's blood that is, if there is blood on her hands, we don't know what it is. There's no explanation.
Yeah. Okay, so this is obviously a traumatic event for Nina. So when she gets home, I had to actually pause and go back and watch a second time because I was trying to figure out. So she sees Beth in the dark corner of the kitchen. Okay. Only Beth is calling her sweetie, which is what Erica often calls her. Because initially I thought, it's her mom waiting for her in the dark. But when you see... It's so fast, but it's very clearly Winona Ryder.
Because I have in my notes, I was like, she gets home and hears someone say "sweet girl," and then there's a ghost or something in her kitchen.
It's as you said, it's like just fast enough that you can kind of start to process, and then we're moving on. So then all the paintings start talking to her. Erica is rightfully worried. So when Nina then tries to lock herself in her room, Erica tries to get in, and this is where we crush Mom's hand in the door twice.
Twice!
Not just once, but twice.
I know it's not Erica's movie, but I really do wish we got a moment of realization. You know how I love my realization moments.
Oh, I fucked up my daughter hardcore.
We're just like, I did this. This is my fault.
Yeah, it seems like we could get a moment here. So after we lock Erica out and we use, Chekhov's wooden beam to keep the door shut, we have this great brief moment of body horror where Nina's legs turn into the swan legs and she hits her head on the bed frame and knocks herself out. But that moment is great.
Yeah.
Fucking love it.
It looks so cool. It's wrong. It's so wrong.
Yeah, because they bend backwards.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, swan legs. But yeah, it seems like this moment where she wakes up and Erica has somehow managed to get in. So, okay, let's talk about what the fuck is going on. But instead, it's, hey, where's the clock? What fucking time is it? Oh, don't worry. I called in sick for you, except it's opening night.
Yeah.
And Nina, I mean, we get a full-on fight between these two at this moment.
And thankfully, thank God, Nina is finally becoming the Black Swan.
I mean, she has some agency. Her timing is not great, but also, oof, I mean, I will say, though, it is very satisfying to watch Natalie Portman be like, oh, what happened to my sweet girl? Oh, she's gone.
No, there's that earlier whenever she goes home with Mila Kunis and she's telling her mom, she's like, Tom and Andrew and I fucked them both.
Yeah. We get a slap there, right? Or do we get a near slap? Yeah.
If not, I mean, it's something. Yeah.
Yeah, because in a way, depending on how you read the ending and the performance, this may or may not be the last time we see Erica.
Yeah. So you don't believe she's there at the end?
I don't know. I guess it's possible. I guess I feel like if she was really that worried about Nina, she would have tried to see her in between the acts or something like that. But it just seems like such a moment, right? Because when we see Erica watching in the audience in this final performance, it's when Nina is at the height of her mania.
Right. It's also possibly crucially important, the only time we've seen Barbara Hershey outside of that apartment.
Truly, yeah. Like, to the point where I started to wonder if she was a recluse.
She might be. I mean, she's an artist. She's an artist. She's just painting those fucking pictures all the time.
Yeah, the only time she ever leaves the house is to buy sheet cake. Can you imagine? Just also, like once a week.
Like, that was a big ass cake. I'm sorry.
What are you doing? It's for two people.
Yeah, like that's what you get, like a birthday party full of children.
Well,
there you go.
Ding, Trey.
Exactly. You're right. As soon as I heard myself say it,
you were like, that's why we did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Erica tried to prevent Nina from going in. Of course, we were not having this, so we storm in. Again, the agency is fantastic. Tomas says, I already told Lily she could do it. And Nina just says, well, after Beth, do you want another controversy?
Oh, I love this too, because you can see like how impressed Tomas is that she's clapping back at him finally.
Yeah, he's getting all wet from it.
Yeah, he's like, all right, fuck Lily.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't announced it, then nobody knows about it, and that role is mine, so I'm doing it.
It's mine.
Yeah. I mean, he does lean in. Like, when he's impressed with her, he says, let yourself go. Mm-hmm. So I think he understands that she's finally in the right headspace to embody both of these double roles.
Yeah.
So she powders over that backrash. She briefly notes that the toes on one of her feet have fused together, and we just cover it with a stocking and let's get out there.
Let's go. And you know what, though? She does do a really good job.
She does do a really good job, yeah. I mean, there's a stumble. So we go out on stage and it's kind of fine. Like, this is one of those roles where you go out as your introduction and then you're off the stage for a little bit and you're in the wings and then you're back out there for a more sustained period of time.
Yeah.
So we do, when we're off stage, see Lily fondling David's crotch. And again, you could argue maybe Lily actually does do this. We've seen her be sexual with men.
And I'm telling you right now, Joe, because I've only worn tights a couple times in my life, but like I would be so scared. It's having a girl or a person grope my dick. Like if you get a boner, you're fucked.
Fully pop a boner right before you go on stage?
Yes!
Not good. Yeah, because everyone already looks like they are.
Yeah.
Because they're so tight.
Anyway, I was just like, I don't know how he's not hard right now, but whatever.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's a boy dancer who likes other boys.
Maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, this looks consensual and sexy and fun, and obviously Nina is having none of it. So she's kind of flipping the fuck out, and when she goes back out on stage, he hoists her up and is doing that beautiful spin. It's the showgirls move.
Yes!
And then she sees herself in the chorus and she has a little freak out and she repositions herself. So he drops her. And this is a bad moment.
And then she blames it on him. Like
she fully blames him. And it was 100% her fault.
It was he dropped me. It was not my fault. It's like, bitch.
Yeah.
Calm
and
down,
she's saying that to Thomas.
Yeah.
After the curtain has closed and he is losing his shit on people.
Losing his shit.
I mean, that would be very bad. You would have people note that in their reviews.
Of course they would, yeah. But again, though, what you're supposed to do as a performer is play it off as if it was supposed to happen. And that's not what they do.
No. I love that when he picks her up, he's like, what the fuck? So she is barely keeping this together. Like Natalie Portman's performance throughout this entire film, when she is a child, she is so believable. When she is a struggling ballet dancer, it is so believable. This moment when she's trying to conceal her tears while she's still on stage, just like, get out of there as quick as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
So she rushes down to her dressing room, and this is where Lily is waiting for her. But then it's also her dark doppelganger who is asking, like, oh, maybe you can't handle it. Maybe you shouldn't do the second act, and so on. So we get into a little bit of a sparring match. We slam this individual up against the mirror. It shatters, and then we're on the ground, and stabby.
Okay, but also the neck elongation. Whenever the double is like strangling Nina, and then her neck elongates like a swan's neck. So I'm fairly comfortable in saying that Lily was never in this room. Like this is all just
she did this
Nina.
to herself.
100%. Yes.
Like again, if you get to see this from somebody else's perspective, or just an omniscient camera in the room, it's probably Jill from Scream 4.
Yes. Because this is also, I mean, like, just the idea is too much. Like, Lily changes too much in this scene. Like, the way she talks to Nina is unlike anything we've seen before. And I just don't buy that.
Oh, God, no. And I don't think we're meant to be confused. This is fully just Nina giving into her paranoia. And she also just had this moment where she fucked up on stage. So her dark side, her insecurity, her inner saboteur essentially says, oh, you're not cut out for this. You need to let me take over. And the only way to switch spots is an act of violence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we declare it's my turn when we stab. And then, we fully drag this dead body into the bathroom.
It's really funny, actually. It's not physical comedy, but I still find it funny.
It's a little bit, yeah. I really like how... We haven't talked about this, but basically from the moment we went down into the dressing room, when we start to get heated, Nina's eyes begin to take on a red element. Yeah. And when we fully get dressed up in our Black Swan outfit and we go out onto the stage, it is full red contacts.
This entire sequence, I just wrote my notes. Oh my God, this sequence is so good.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
It is amazing. And the costuming for the Black Swan, like the face veil that she has, I am obsessed with it.
Does it remind you of a funeral veil?
Yes, a little bit, but it's so tight on her face. Like I'm not a fashion person. I'm sure this exists in a lot of other places for people to wear. Yeah. It almost feels like a mask.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's very satisfying to watch her almost rip this off, because you're right, it is so tight. It feels constricting, and she's very much liberating herself. I also love the sound effects as she's doing this. So once again, the camera is handheld. We are all up in this performance, but there's a whooshing sound effect as she's moving around. It feels like what you might hear if a bird was taking flight.
That's 100% it. Because there's also Foley work, like whenever we're like focusing on her back, it's almost like a tinkling almost, but it's meant to be like the sound of like bird joints moving.
Oh, amazing. Yeah. I love that. But yeah, so we see her sort of, at one point she kind of goes off to the side of the stage, because as I said, it's sometimes you're on and then you're off and then you're back on again. And it's funny because you could mistake it for, she's winded because she put everything she has into this performance. But in hindsight, you realize, it's because she's doing this and she's still got a piece of fucking glass in her abdomen.
Right. And I guess that would require a good suspension of disbelief because it should be bleeding much more at this point in time. But
who cares?
I just got to be on the ride for this. It's fine.
Yeah. So we do end this part of the performance with our arms becoming fully CGI feathers. And as I said, I don't love it. What I do love is when we cut to the perspective of the audience and we see her take her kind of half bow. If you look, her arms are regular on the stage, but her shadow are the wings.
Oh, that's really cool. Because I do like the silhouette we get. I mean, again, it's still CGI wings, but I like the silhouette we get of like the spotlights all on her. So it's still CGI wings, but like I think it's more about just the shape of them than the actual look of the wings themselves.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. So after this rapturous applause, she rushes off the stage. She aggressively kisses Tomas, who admittedly in this moment looks surprised.
Oh, but he's impressed. He's genuinely impressed with her.
He is, but I guess I wanted to, just because we have talked so much about the sexual assault and how he's been treating her, in this moment, this isn't something that he was looking for. So she has surprised him, not just with the performance, but also like, hey, that kiss. Ooh, what?
Which for me, I'd be kind of like, everyone thinks y'all are fucking and that she slept to get this part. So why are you going to do this?
No, it doesn't look good for him, for sure.
Yeah, but she's about to die anyway, so it's fine.
Well, this is true. Yes, there would be a very different story on page 1. So she rushes down to her dressing room. This is when she tries to hide the blood with a towel. Then we get the knock. And it's Lily at the door saying, hey, you're doing great. And I hope you kill it. I just love that Nina is fully speechless. She says nothing at all. Lily looks uncomfortable and just kind of backs away. Okay, have a great rest of the performance. I'll talk to you later, I guess. Weirdo. Yeah. And then, of course, we look around. No blood, no body. Still broken mirror, but nothing else. So yes, we have hallucinated this the whole time.
And I remember the first time I saw this, I did find that disappointing because I just kept hoping that wasn't what we were doing here because it did seem really obvious. But
yeah,
I've accepted it.
You've come around.
Yeah, I've accepted it. Well, I still want my Swan movie, but yes.
Yes. Well, we're still waiting, but for now, this is what we have, and it's pretty fucking good.
Maybe that'll be Darren Aronofsky's filmic Swan song.
Can we get another drum roll out here, please? Actually, you know what? Based off of the new recurring comedy bit that we're going to do that we started on Hard Eyes from Patreon.
I forgot about that.
Terrible. So some really great, genuine moments of pathos and understanding from Portman here, because Nina just kind of looks at herself in the mirror and cries because she realized, oh my God, I stabbed myself. And also, I'm in a fuck ton of pain, maybe definitely mortally wounded.
And that's the thing, like she's clearly lost her mind by this point because she sees this wound and still goes out to perform.
Well, this is where that perfection angle comes in, right? So at this point, she will clearly never have another opportunity to get this right. She's already made one flub, but she still has a chance to be perfect. So of course she's going to take it. Better to die after one perfect performance and fulfill the actual Swan Lake story than to say, what? Oh, I need medical attention. Stop the performance.
I did find this interesting too. So apparently in more modern, and by more modern, I mean like after the year 1900, there are some productions of Swan Lake that change the ending to a more happy ending.
So we're Disneyfying the ending.
We are Disneyfying it, which I thought was really, I was like, that's weird. But okay.
Yeah. I guess if you're taking children to this performance, maybe you don't. But here's the thing. You mentioned Nutcracker. I would argue there's moments of weird horror in the Nutcracker.
There absolutely are. The rats are terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to advocate for a return to like 80s children entertainment because I do think it fucked up a bunch of us. But also, it fucked up a bunch of us in not always bad ways. Like, we can show children scary things without irreparably harming them. Like, we can have darkness in our texts that are still child-friendly.
But also, like, you can just tell them when you watch the Swan dive off a fucking cliff, which is just, by the way, a piece of stage set, that, she flew away into the ocean. I don't know. There you go.
Yeah. Just lie to your children.
Just lie to your children. It's fine. People do it all the time.
I mean, yes, they absolutely do. Okay, so she finishes this ballet. She's losing herself in the final act of it before ascending the riser. It's performance end. She looks out. She does see her mother smiling at her in the audience. And then she leaps from this platform. And I do love that if you are tracking the wound, you can see that the bleeding is getting quite a bit larger. It's more profuse. And when she lands, you can see that almost her entire stomach is now bloody and red. But this is a fantastic moment. Tomas proudly calls her his little princess. Everybody is giving her a standing O, except for Lily, who, of course, notices the blood and gasps. And Nina confidently, sagely, wisely, deathly says, "I was perfect." And then we fade to white because she's dead.
It was perfect, but yes.
It was perfect. She was perfect.
It was perfect, yeah. I love the fade to white, too. We get so few fade to whites.
Yeah, it's usually a whiteout or just someone being knocked unconscious. But in this moment, it's
the end.
Well, and I can't remember entirely if we opened with black credits, but it feels like a black-white thing. Right?
Maybe you're probably right, actually, but I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Say, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, someone will tell us, or we can go back and look in a moment.
Well, okay, so that is Black Swan, everybody. Mm-hmm. Joe, final thoughts on this movie?
You know what? I loved this movie when I saw it 15 years ago. I watched it a couple times. I've had a conversation with Jamie and Bafna on Bloody Broads about it, and every time I watch it, I really fucking like it. It's probably one of, if maybe not my favorite Aronofsky film. I love how female-centric it is. I love that it's a tragedy. I love that it's about competitive sport. Like, it doesn't underscore how fucking hard ballet is. Yeah. And also, I think these performances are all, to a T, great. Like, everybody understood what they were meant to do, and they sell it.
Well, and I think that's also partly Aronofsky, because I think that, like someone like Fincher, I think he is a perfectionist.
Yes, I get that impression.
Which, the irony, right?
Well, striving. You know what? It was perfect.
What was he telling to Natalie Portman to get her in the role?
Bitch, you get this right.
Go touch yourself.
Oh my God. No. I have black friends.
I grew up in a house with women.
I masturbated.
I love this movie too. I really like it. It's not what I really like to revisit often, because I do just find it like it's not a happy movie to watch.
No.
But yeah, no, it's great, and I'm just really happy this did get Academy recognition, because it is about every decade we have something like that happen.
There we go. Yeah. So we're overdue, is what we're saying.
Hey, man. Come on. Actually, by this point, we'll know if Demi Moore won that Oscar or not, so we'll
see. Hey-o from the past.
We don't know yet, everyone.
Tell us something happy, future us.
Yeah, exactly. But, okay. Well, before we announce what we're covering next week, some quick housekeeping. If you want to get in touch with us, you can reach us on Blue Sky and Instagram at HorrorQueers. Shoot us an email at horrorqueers@gmail.com. Find us on Letterboxd to keep track of all the films we've covered. And if you want to chat with other listeners, you can join our Facebook Horror Queers group, which we have had since the podcast started. Mm-hmm. Or you can join our new Horror Queers Discord, which will be linked to in the show notes. We are trying this out. Well, actually, no, we're doing this. We're doing this. Yeah. We're getting with the times, Greg.
Sure. Basically, if you're like, hey, fuck billionaires who support fascism and Nazism, come over to the Discord.
Yep. And so please join us as Joe and I learn how to do it, because we don't normally do it. And it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a much more intimate environment for our listeners.
I hope so. Yeah. I mean, it sounds stupid to describe things as safe spaces because, unfortunately, I just don't think we live in that world anymore. But we can say that it will be a safer space than most internet places.
Yeah, that we certainly strive for that. But yeah, so also if you have a moment, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you want even more content, please support the show by becoming a patron at patreon.com/horrorqueers. If you subscribe today, you'll get 368 hours of Patreon content, including this month's new episodes on Borderline, Oddity, Opus, Death of a Unicorn, and a brand new audio commentary on Sin City.
Yeah, I'm excited to revisit this one. I know we just covered another Robert Rodriguez text. Well, I guess it was last year, but I haven't seen Sin City in forever, and I'm excited.
I watched it a lot in high school. Like,
okay.
It was kind of like my, oh God, were kids in your high school obsessed with the Boondock Saints?
Oh, God. Well, actually, I think my first year university
Yeah,
was.
there you go.
Yeah.
I don't get the appeal, personally. I thought that movie was quite bad. But anyway, the Sin City was like my
It was your version of it?
Kind of, yeah. I watched it a lot.
Okay. But have you read the books?
So that's the thing. I always wanted to, but like, they were expensive as fuck. And I always wanted to buy them all at once instead of individually because that's how I am. So no, sure. I've never read these comics or these graphic novels, but I do like the movie a lot.
Oh, that's interesting. Allow me to make another gentle plug then. Library. Go and get them all out from the library.
I wanted to own them.
Dude, you don't even know if you like them. Just fucking get them from the library.
I wanted to own that. My mind works very weirdly like that. I just want to own these things. Because I'm a collector.
Okay, fine.
Anyway.
I'm just saying, you could also do it from the library because, free, all that good stuff.
Yep.
But also then you keep them in fucking business. Libraries are resources beyond just like taking something out. They provide an invaluable service, like maybe a drag queen reading hour or public services for unhoused people.
Okay.
Keeping libraries in business, folks.
Well, when I was 16 and I was watching Sin City, I wasn't thinking about going to the library. I wanted to buy these books.
Okay. Well, can I speak to the adult Trace, the person that I've been having a conversation with?
I'll go to a library and rent fucking Sin City.
Do it. Just do it.
Okay, but Joe, what are we talking about next week in week 2 of Doppelganger Month?
Folks, we're sticking with this female theme, but we're going to introduce a wee bit more sex work into our professional perfectionism. And we're going to talk about a movie I think I've been trying to get on our schedule for like 3 to 4 years now.
I know, and I don't know why we haven't covered. I like this movie a lot.
It's just one of those things where something else always comes up and we shift it because we know that it'll be there, but it is finally time. It's finally time. We're going to talk about Cam, a really hard movie to Google, but it does exist. Wow. And Trace, you could read the book that this is not formally based on, but there is like a tie-in book as well. So.
Oh well, I'll check. I'll let you know when next time I go to the library.
You know what? Fuck you, Trace.
All right, everyone. Well, until next week when we discuss Cam, I think we can cross out Black Swan.
Indeed, and cross out horror queers.